Chapter 15:16. Chi. Bang. 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 Terrifying acupoint condensing Saint Power ripples burst out from the nine-colored Saint Power vortex. It was like a star core exploding, stirring up the wind and blowing up the Sky Calamity Fiend prison. Fortunately, the Sky Calamity Fiend prison was full of calamity energy, so Lin Chen's Saint Power ripples didn't spread too far. In addition, with Lin Ping and refining the calamity energy for him, Lin Chen could fully focus on the acupoint condensing state. Lin Chen, you can do it! Lin Ping, and cheered for Lin Chen seriously, but she didn't dare to send him a voice transmission for fear of disturbing Lin Chen. She waved her little fists, her face red with excitement. I finally stepped into the condensing realm. Back then, when I first became a saint, a condensing realm cultivator could crush me. Now, I can destroy a large number of condensing realm cultivators with one breath. Between Lin Chen's brows, an absolute confidence of controlling the universe flashed past. Lin Chen's mind flashed with the thrilling scenes of the past, polishing his state of mind until it was clear and bright. His saint acupoints illuminated the stars, and the sun and moon illuminated the sky. The saint power he gathered burst out as if he had all the tricks up his sleeves. Lin Chen's spiritual perception was raised to the extreme, and he immediately sensed the location of the 42nd Saint Acupoint. Through the 41st Saint Acupoint, it was as if billions of heavenly dragons were born, crushing the 42nd Saint Acupoint. This acupoint condensing, either I don't do it, or I'll be the F***king best in the world. This acupoint condensing, I want to surpass the Star Realm, the Saint Heart Realm, and the Heaven Opening Realm. Lin Chen was determined to be the best in the sacred boundary. Since ancient times, the sacred boundary had never fused with a condensing realm cultivator who could surpass the life and death realm, Star Realm, Saint Heart Realm, and even the Heaven Opening Realm. Lin Chen's cerebral cortex was heating up, and his blood was boiling. A wave of heat that had been brewing in his chest burst out with a roar. 42nd Saint Acupoint, open. Rumble. Bang. The nine-colored holy light, which was spinning like an astrolabe, grew crazily again. At this moment, boundless saint power was nourishing Lin Chen's saint body. His flesh and blood were like the universe. His bones were like the sun, moon, and stars. His veins were like rivers and seas, and a single drop of his blood could burn down 10,000 heavenly mountains. His essence, energy, spirit, blood, chi, blood, and vitality had all reached their peak at this moment. The 42nd Saint Point was opened. Bang, bang, bang. The nine-colored starlight exploded continuously, shattering the clouds and sweeping away the sun, moon, and universe. It was not only the desolate demon and devil realms, but also the entire firmament star field. This time, the continuous explosions lasted for an entire day. In the desolate demon world, countless saint demon kings were stunned when they sensed the aura that seemed to connect to the nine heavens. This is the human race's acupoint condensation. What kind of joke is this? A human dares to condense his acupoints in my demon territory? Roar. This is a disgrace to our clan. What the hell are these guys doing? Why did you let a human in again? The entire desolate demon and devil realms were turned upside down. Lin Chen's first meridian condensation couldn't even be considered a warm-up compared to the second. His second acupoint condensation shook the entire star field. Even the higher-ups of the dragon tribe, human tribe, and devil tribe were shocked. At the highest level of the star pagoda, a young man in a snow-white robe was elegant. His light green eyebrows seemed to have cinnabar on them. He was extremely handsome, and his fair face revealed a different kind of vicissitudes. When the young man opened his eyes, a few rays of light shot out from his weathered eyes. It was as if he could see through the void and directly into the demonic prison of desolate demon and devil realm. The human race has a shocking saint talent, and he's condensing his acupoints in the devil realm. The young man was shocked. He tried to look through the void to the center of the nine-colored holy light vortex, but he was blocked by a strong, disastrous aura that blocked his senses. The demonic prison of Desolate Demon is really strange. I wonder if those old guys will make a move. The young man retracted his gaze and stared into the distance. The aura of the space-time realm seemed to be destroyed in his eyes. If there were any changes, he would personally go to the Devil Realm. Firmament Star Field, Dragon Tribe, Divine Dragon Valley. A man and a woman in golden robes flashed and appeared in the sky above the Divine Dragon Valley. Their eyes narrowed slightly. Even with their experience and cultivation, they could not help but be shocked by the aura of the acupoint condensation. Acupoint condensation in the Devil Realm? How bold. Who is this guy? Strange. It's too strange. I can't even deduce the trajectory of this child's fate. I can't even deduce how much of an impact he will have on our three races. The man and woman were even more shocked. It was the first time they could not see through someone's fate. Desolate Demon and Devil Realm, inside a pitch-black heaven abyss. At the bottom of the abyss, a pair of eyes filled with overflowing hostility opened. Acupoint condensation? I haven't seen the human race for a while. Have they become so arrogant that they dare to come to our Devil Realm to condense their acupoints? Whoosh! A ray of demonic light appeared. It seemed like it was about to head to the demonic prison of Desolate Demon. Rumble. A powerful aura shrouded the area around Heaven Abyss. It came from faraway realm. The fluttering snow sage king has locked onto me. The demonic light stopped in midair, and a tall and slender figure appeared. He had 2 pairs of translucent wings. His face was handsome and evil, but he had 4 eyes. They were filled with demonic chi. He stared into the distance and did not move again. At this moment, the strongest sage kings of the 3 tribes were all alarmed. However, none of the Saint Kings took the initiative to act. In the era where the demon emperors did not appear and the true gods did not appear, the sage kings dominated. Every sage king's battle power was a move that affected the entire situation. Once the heavenly demon venerables of the demon race moved, the sage kings of the human race would also move immediately. The battle power of a sage king could crush everything in an ordinary sage. Even if it was just a moment, it could turn a large realm into ashes. At that time, whoever made the first move would be at a disadvantage. Whoever made the first move would have to pay the price in blood. The battle power of a sage king would always restrict each other. This was also why no matter how the 3 tribes fought, they would not easily send out sage kings. Once the sage kings started fighting, it would involve the problem of whether the battle power of both sides could continue to be maintained. Until the last moment, no one wanted to fall out with each other. Snowflake Sage King, you may be able to hold me back, but how can you hold back the Sage Kings of the other 3 tribes? A human with potential on the Saint Talent roll will definitely be eliminated by the other 3 tribes. The demon venerables in the void laughed coldly and retreated back into the silent abyss. Outside the Sky Calamity Fiend prison, the 9-color vortex was 10 times larger than before. It almost covered the entire Sky Calamity Fiend prison and affected the chaotic battlefield of the 3 tribes. Bang, 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 kaboom. When the 9-colored vortex exploded for the last time, it finally stopped condensing and officially formed. The hearts of the 3 tribes' elites twitched. There were a total of 2,000 explosions. Inside the Sky Calamity Fiend prison, the 42 sage acupuncture points on his body shone with eternal light. Lin Shen opened his hands and looked at his palms with trembling eyes. He could feel the almost limitless sage power and could not help but murmur to himself. 2,000 times condensed. This time, I directly increased my sage power by 700 trillion dragon power. 700 trillion dragon power. If it was converted to the power of 1 sage, it was the power of 1 sage. And this was under the premise that the Tai Sky fueling technique and the supreme God possession talent effect were not included. The unparalleled transformative realm, Lin Shen. This day was destined to be recorded in the history of the various tribes. The revolution was about to begin. A new page in the history of the sacred boundary was about to be opened. Chapter 15:17. At this moment, on the battlefield at the border of the demonic world, all the experts stopped fighting and were forced to stop. The explosion of a nine-colored holy light vortex that was expanding infinitely was not something they could easily withstand. Unless they were peak demon kings or heaven-opening realm experts, they had to leave the area covered by the nine-colored holy light vortex. 2,000 times? Nonsense. Has there ever been such a ridiculous achievement in the history of the sacred boundary? I don't dare to say that I've seen all the Saint Talent rankings, but from my experience, there hasn't been one so far. It's impossible for a single condensation to have such a heaven-defying number of 2,000 times. If I remember correctly, the last time the Holy Infant was born, before it entered the Saint Talent rankings, its total condensation was only 2,080 times, right? A single condensation is almost the same as the total condensation on the Saint Talent rankings. What kind of monster is this? Is this guy who entered the demonic world really human? Everyone in the human camp was so shocked that they could not speak. No matter how powerful their experience and state of mind were, it was impossible to calm down at this moment. Exceeding the Saint Talent rankings in one condensation, even novels would not dare to write this. What a joke. I know. Suddenly, a super genius came to a realization. All the experts looked at him, and even the experts of the dragon race could not help but look at him. This must be a conspiracy. Well, from a normal point of view, it's impossible for humans to enter the demonic world, let alone condensation. The demonic race must have deliberately used the chaotic battle just now as a disguise, and then created an illusion similar to condensation. They thought we humans were on the first level, but we were actually on the fifth level. That super genius thought for a moment and said with certainty and determination, "Impossible." The red-haired old man sneered. "Don't waste your time." Not to mention how the demonic race faked this phenomenon. Even the crown prince of the demonic race was fooled by those strange demons just now, and several peak demon kings died. What benefits did they get? Are they as surprised as we are? That super genius who asked the question was speechless. Indeed, his idea was full of loopholes. Rumble. At this moment, the nine-colored holy light vortex that covered the sky and the earth still did not stop. It was still expanding. All the experts felt their scalps go numb. Consecutively condensing 3 acupoints? Are you serious? With such a terrifying multiplier, consecutively condensing 2 acupoints was already inconceivable. It was an unparalleled feat, but there was actually a third time? Just how much did this Ning Shui's master accumulate? What kind of rare experience did he have to go through to have such a foundation? Wait, if the demons who entered after the Civil War were humans, that is to say, the red-haired old man and a few veteran First Revolution sages looked at each other. They had yet to break through the Devil World borders, but there were humans appearing in the Devil World. What did this mean? Everyone suddenly felt a sense of horror shoot up from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. Didn't that mean that the owner of this Ning cave came from the demon realm? It was terrifying to think about. One or a few saints who might be in the expansion or condensation realm had sneaked into the Devil World. How was that even possible? Even if it was a group of saint kings, they might not be able to do it. That was the desolate demon and devil world, where demon honorables were as common as clouds. It was the headquarters of one of the 4 great demon tribes. An unprecedented amount of information spread out as the experts pondered over it carefully. The experts of the 2 tribes were even more terrified. On the Devil World side, while maintaining the defensive formation at the border, they immediately contacted more peak demon kings and demon honorables. With the Devil Prison as the center, all the demon honorables and peak demon kings in the desolate demon and devil world began to move. A storm, with the Heaven Calamity Devil Prison as the center, began to sweep across the firmament star field. Not only the desolate demon and devil world, But even the other three great demon tribes began to move. Inside the Heaven Calamity Devil Prison, Lin Chen's accumulation was unparalleled. It was more than enough to open 42 sane acupoints. Not to mention the Heaven Opening Realm. Even an ordinary Saint Heart Realm cultivator could suppress a large number of expansion and condensation realm cultivators with just a finger. And Lin Chen was someone who had killed a large number of Heaven Opening Realm cultivators when he was in the expansion realm. Not many people in the world could compare to this kind of accumulation. Every Heaven Opening Realm cultivator he killed was a peak existence in their respective tribes. So cool, Lin Chen. Hurry up and continue. Release all of your essence and scare those guys silly. Lin Ping bared her white canine teeth and waved her fists excitedly. Her face was flushed red with excitement. She did not seem to notice that more and more disaster energy was beginning to gather. Moreover, her physique was automatically absorbing a large amount of disaster energy and refining it faster and faster. Lin Chen activated his mind energy and spread it throughout his body. He sensed the location of the 43rd Saint Acupoint and let out a deep breath. The third acupoint condensation corresponds to my third acupoint expansion. My third acupoint expansion is 1,100 times. Since I've broken through this time, there's no need to suppress it anymore. In one go, I'll reach the middle stage or even the late stage of the Heaven Opening Realm. The 43rd Saint Acupoint opened for me. Lin Chen's shoulders shook, and he suddenly roared. Saint energy rose and fell like 1,000 planes, and in an instant, it surged into the 43rd Saint Acupoint. Chi, Peng. The momentum of this breakthrough was even fiercer than the previous two combined. Boom, boom, boom. The 9-colored holy light vortex was like a surging river of stars. It turned into a beautiful wheel of stars and expanded several times, covering most of the border of the devil world. This time, the acupoint condensation was like a hot knife through butter, and from the start, it rang 500 times. The super geniuses were forced to retreat again and again as they stared at the 9-colored disc. This scene was too magnificent. Lin Chen seemed to be using all his strength to condense the acupoints. This time, the acupoint condensation was extremely fierce and fast, and in an extremely short time, it rang out 1,000 times. In less than 15 minutes, it rang out another 2,000 times. More than 2,000 times. The hearts of many experts trembled. From now on, every time it rang out, it would be a moment of history. When a 9-color vortex finally expanded to 100 times its initial size, the third time it rang out 3,000 times, it finally stopped. Lin Chen exhaled a breath of Saint Qi, forming an energy storm that whistled through the universe. His aura swept through 3,000 miles. An array of Saint light illuminated 10,000 miles. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with terrifying confidence. At this moment, with his Saint energy cultivation, the Heaven Opening Realm was no longer a distant chasm. The third acupoint condensation was 3,000 times. Just this acupoint condensation alone increased Lin Chen's Saint energy by the equivalent of 1,650 trillion dragon energy. 1,650 venerable energy. It was not over yet. Lin Chen's Saint Acupoint was still surging with a vast amount of Saint Qi. Lin Chen's accumulation was beyond his imagination. However, Lin Chen's brows were tightly furrowed at this moment. Damn it, this is too fierce. Chapter 15:18. Sometimes, being too fierce wasn't necessarily a good thing. The more handsome a person was, the more they understood this principle. As for why Lin Chen was so fierce, it all started from when he picked up a book titled My Cultivation Method Depends on X. This time, Lin Chen could condense his acupoints 3 times in a row and still have some spare. But for the 4th time, he didn't have enough energy to do it. With his current foundation, the result of condensing the 4th time would be the same as condensing the third time. He might not even be able to surpass the third time. In the condensation transformation realm, every single saint point required a solid foundation and double the accumulation of experience. Lin Chen was stuck here. If it was the life and death realm, it would be fine. Every time he opened 2 saint points, he would gain double the amount of saint power. But the transformation realm was different. This kind of imperfect condensing wasn't what Lin Chen wanted. Slow rune. With a flip of his hand, the slow rune entered his saint body and sealed the saint power. Lin Chen sunk into a short period of contemplation. How could he reach the best state or perfection for the 4th time? Should I go out and kill another batch of peak stage demon kings to accumulate attribute points? No, that's not realistic. Peak stage demon kings aren't ants. Unless I ambush them and kill them with all my trump cards, my rune energy might not be able to last until then. Could it be that he really had to accept this kind of imperfect condensing? It would be great if there was a supreme grade saint pill that could help me break through the bottleneck. Lin Chen felt as if he was struck by lightning. Damn, handsome people tend to forget things. Didn't he have one? It was known as the strongest breakthrough pill in the sacred boundary, the strongest saint pill for breaking through bottlenecks, dreamless heartbreaker. Shwa. With a flip of Lin Chen's palm, the saint ring spun, and the red mist lingered. Inside the jade box was an azure saint pill. From the history of the sacred boundary, there has never been a transformation realm cultivator who could take a saint pill with such energy. Even if they did, they wouldn't be able to refine it. Even Shan Tiangying, who was known as one of the top 100 of the monstrous geniuses list, who had the lowest realm, only dared to refine the dreamless heartbreak pill after reaching the peak of life and death realm. Moreover, I'm only at the 8th realm. The corners of Lin Chen's mouth rose slightly. He had personally refined this item, so he was very clear on how much energy it contained. With Lin Chen's current cultivation, he had an 80% chance of refining it. Opening the jade box, Lin Chen opened his mouth and sucked in the saint pellet. The moment it entered his mouth, it melted, and energy rushed into Lin Chen's body like a vast ocean. The endless energy of the divine elixir pill caused Lin Chen to enter a state of complete relaxation. The surface of his saint body began to condense a layer of faint blue crystal. The energy of the saint elixir had even transformed into a substance, attaching itself to Lin Chen's body. Gradually, Lin Chen was condensed into a cocoon of light by the azure crystals, enveloping him within. Rumble, rumble. Lin Chen's saint body glowed, and the sound of space and time shook. It was as if every inch of his flesh and blood was flowing with saint force. For half a day, there was no movement in the Sky Disaster demonic prison. However, all the experts knew that there was an even greater wave of acupoints condensation brewing. Rumble. 7 dark green demonic lights descended from the sky as a group of figures stepped out. Their auras were as imposing as the sun, the moon, and the stars. They were grayish-white and looked like humans. Their bodies were covered in scales and sharp, and they were all dozens of feet tall. As soon as they arrived, they turned the world into the center of a storm of evil chi. The 7 destruction demonic demons greet the crown prince. The 7 demonic demons cupped their fists slightly to the crown prince in the sky. The crown prince frowned. This was the heaven fiend demon race outside of the desolate demon race. The human race is really bold. He came to the demonic realm just to condense his acupoints condensation. How do you desolate demon race do things? You let the human race sneak in. You're a disgrace to us high-level demons. This is the desolate demon border that is known as the most stable fortress of the demons. No way, no way. Just this level? I forgot that there was a crown prince here. Greetings, crown prince demonic demon race. Sorry for the disrespect. Another group of demons appeared. They were in a half-human state, standing on 2 feet. Some had manticores, tiger paws, whale heads, crocodile tails, but they were all incomplete. The only thing they had in common was that they were surrounded by blood chi. They looked like they had crawled out of a sea of blood and a mountain of corpses. There were 8 of them standing together. It was like a huge wave of blood chi swept across the sky. The experts of the dragon race and the human race couldn't help but take a few steps back. The heaven fiend demon race, the bloodthirsty demon race, and the desolate demon race. 3 of the 4 great demon races had come. They came too quickly. From sensing the acupoint condensation phenomenon to actually coming, the demonic realm, which was separated by countless planes, had crossed over in just 2 or 3 days. Also, they were all fierce people. More than half of the demon sovereigns were on par with second transformation saints. Fortunately, the demon sovereigns of the other 2 races didn't attack the experts of the human and dragon races. Otherwise, they would have suffered great losses today. There were many internal conflicts between them. They wouldn't easily be used by other races. They would only work together for extremely important matters or when the demon emperor summoned them. If you want to cause trouble, then get lost. Otherwise, work together to deal with this guy inside. Crown Prince Demonic Demon Race finally spoke. A trace of ruthlessness flashed through his eyes. There were many conflicts between the demons too. Hearing the demon emperor's son speak, the demon sovereigns of the various races restrained themselves. When they looked at the Heaven Calamity demonic prison, they were quite shocked and serious. In the history of the various races, the demons had killed people on the saint talent rankings before. Back when some of them were saint babies who were powerful enough to shake the balance between the 3 races, the Devil Clan had once invaded the humankind and killed those saint babies who were still growing, regardless of the cost. They had even killed those who were listed on the ultimate saint talent roll, even though the price was great. However, they had never seen such a terrifying phenomenon at the acupoint condensation stage. If we let this human grow, I'm afraid the demon realm will have another powerful enemy in the near future. Let's attack. The higher-ups have orders. We can't capture anyone alive if we can kill them. We'd rather kill 10,000 innocents than let one go. Even if we can't break in, it's not a problem to break his acupoint condensation stage. Let's work together and break his acupoint condensation stage from the inside. He's dreaming if he wants to succeed in the demon realm. Rumble. The desolate demon race had gathered 6 demon sovereigns, 7 demon sovereigns, and 8 bloodthirsty demon sovereigns. The aura of the 21 demon sovereigns overshadowed all the experts present. They were so powerful that they wanted to destroy the acupoint condensation stage phenomenon coming from the Heaven Calamity demonic prison. Oh no, Senior, should we go and help? A beautiful super genius with blue saint light flowing around him transmitted his voice to the red-haired saint. It's not realistic. We haven't even broken through the desolate demon race's border. Even if the dragon race is willing to attack with us, our chances of winning are slim. Plus, it's too late. The red-haired saint shook his head and sighed. This acupoint condensation stage monster is too weird. Why did he choose to do it in the demon realm? He can only rely on himself. Chapter 1519. Rumble. At that moment, a torrential demonic aura covered the entire sky. All the light in the surroundings dimmed, and the sky seemed to have sunk into boundless darkness and bloody waves. All the demon supremacies attacked at the same time. That kind of power made the young super monsters feel what apocalypse was for the first time. A soul-deep fear rushed toward them. Bam! With a loud bang, the sky was torn apart. A hole was torn open in the calamity energy of the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison. The 9-colored holy light vortex in the sky was blasted into pieces. It's over. The red-haired old man sighed. Let's get ready to retreat. Our mission is complete. In half a day at most, the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison will return to its previous violent state. By then, the demon tribe won't be able to enter. When the red-haired old man waved his hand, a super monster suddenly exclaimed, "No, the phenomenon has been destroyed, but the acupoint hasn't been severed." Everyone looked over, and sure enough, the 9-colored vortex spun and expanded once again. What? The demon supremacy's expressions changed. He withstood it. Impossible. A transformation realm cultivator can't possibly withstand the attacks of 21 demon supremacies. Something's wrong. Just as the Dragon Tribe powerhouses were stunned, a young and crisp voice came from the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison. With me here, don't even think about touching a single hair on his head. I'll destroy all of you later. The young girl's voice sounded a little fierce, but it was too young. It sounded like a child's threat. Who are you? Hiding your head and showing your tail. Come out. 10,000 blood demon burial hand. Heart-devouring lock. Without saying a word, the demon masters launched another round of attacks. Their attacks shattered the heavens and the earth, and countless meteors were shattered one after another. However, all the attacks were like stones sinking into the sea when they entered the purplish-brown calamity energy vortex. The 9-colored holy light vortex was about to form again. The demon supremacies were dumbfounded. This acupoint sealer's helper was terrifyingly powerful. Lin Pingon had been absorbing a huge amount of calamity energy in the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison during this period. His familiarity with the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison increased rapidly. Although he couldn't wield it like an extension of his arm, he could still easily manipulate the calamity energy to defend himself against the demon supremacies outside the Heaven Calamity Fiend prison. Should we charge in? Fight them to the death? Kill your ass? Putting aside the fact that the disastrous energy inside the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison is harmful to us, the disastrous aura alone is enough to cut off all our senses. If we go in, we'll be in the dark like a plate of loose sand and be slaughtered by others. Mother asterisk her. According to you, we have to wait here? You bloodthirsty demons are really a bunch of cowards. Who are you calling coward? Watch your words, you old dog. Why are you pretending to be a big shot? What's wrong? If you're not happy, why don't you come out and practice alone? The demon venerables argued fiercely, and not long later, old grudges erupted again. Crown Prince Mo Huang didn't say anything. Instead, he quietly watched the strange scene in the sky. It's too late. It's too late. He has already accumulated his power and is ready to strike. His acupoint condensation technique is already unstoppable. Just as demonic Crown Prince finished speaking, boom, boom, boom. Inside the 9-colored holy light vortex, endless saint power rippled and swirled into the galaxy, returning to the real body. Inside the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison, Lin Shun suddenly opened his eyes. All his clones were absorbing all the medicinal power of the Saint Pellet at the same time. Sizzle. Crack. The energy crystal covering Lin Chen's body started to crack and shatter. The light cocoon covering Lin Chen's body started to shine brightly. Endless light swept across the entire fiend prison like a hurricane. All the medicinal power of the dreamless heart-shattering pellet turned into rolling saint power and poured into Lin Chen's 44th Saint Acupoint. There's no time more perfect than now. 44th Saint Acupoint, open. Lin Chen opened his eyes, and his saint power burst out. His saint body suddenly shook, releasing all the suppressed top-tier essence energy. The endless saint power was like a divine dragon, and it violently opened the 44th Saint Acupoint. Bang! The 9-colored holy light vortex blasted away the raging energy waves, and even pushed the 21 demon venerables back dozens of miles. All of them looked terrified. All the powerful cultivators were horrified. Within the 9-colored holy light vortex, there were 1,000, 2,000 consecutive explosions. The power of the acupoint condensation was like a true dragon soaring into the sky. Unstoppable. There were 3,000 consecutive explosions, and it still didn't stop. 3,500 times. The red-haired old man trembled. The red-haired old man trembled. Just how heaven-defying was this person? The 9-colored holy light vortex expanded infinitely, and it looked beautiful and magnificent. It was like a galaxy spinning under the starry sky, and endless mysteries were contained within. Rumble. A majestic aura faintly seeped out of the nine-colored holy light vortex, and it actually suppressed all the cultivation techniques of the super powerful cultivators. All the powerful cultivators were horrified. What kind of cultivation technique is this? It actually used the power of the acupoint condensation to suppress their cultivation techniques. It was as if there was a mighty will that ruled over all living beings, and it was as powerful as the beings that didn't belong to this world. This aura just flashed by, and a nine-colored holy light vortex expanded to the highest level. When the last explosion of the holy light ended, the powerful cultivators of the human tribe, dragon tribe, and demon tribe couldn't calm down for a long time. A super demon-level genius swallowed his saliva with great difficulty and exclaimed in shock. The fourth acupoint condensation. 4,500 times. Firmament star field inside the star tower. All the sages, powerful cultivators, and old antiques were rooted to the spot in shock. The acupoint condensation, which had been full of ups and downs, had ended in such a way. 4,500 times. This number, even if it was the total number of acupoints condensation, was enough to surpass many sages on the Saint Talent Board. However, this was only the multiplication of a single acupoint condensation. Inside the Heaven's Calamity demonic prison, Lin Chun floated in the air, and his saint body was as majestic as the starry sky, supporting the heavens and the earth. 44 hexagonal saint acupoints flashed all over his body, and they released an everlasting holy light. It was as if he could support the universe just by standing there. He took a deep breath and looked down at his palm, and he seemed to be intoxicated. The fourth acupoint condensation had increased his saint power by 3,150 trillion dragon power. Just the saint power of this acupoint alone was enough to compete with intermediate or advanced heaven-opening realm cultivators. After the fourth acupoint condensation, my saint acupoint cultivation has increased by 5,500 trillion dragon power. The moment Lin Chun clenched his fist, endless airwaves exploded in the Heaven's Calamity demonic prison, crushing thousands of realms. Originally, without taking into account his cultivation technique, his saint power's limit was only 1,57,565 trillion dragon power. However, without taking into account the Supreme God's possession and the Tai sky concealing mantra, his saint acupoint could unleash 5,600 supremacy power. When Lin Chun looked at his Tai sky concealing mantra, 44 hexagonal saint acupoints floated up, and his saint power was several times more powerful than Lin Chun's saint acupoints. At this moment, Lin Chun's lips curled into a smile. The demon tribe's crown prince was no longer out of reach. Using a crown prince of the demon race to practice and warm up seems like a good choice. Lin Chao snickered. From now on, the situation would be unpredictable. Chapter 1520. Using the demon crown prince to practice? If the super geniuses outside knew what Lin Chun was thinking, they would probably vomit blood. Only he, Lin Chun, would be able to think of such a crazy idea. Lin Chun activated his cultivation method, and countless nine-colored holy clouds returned to his body. Lin Chun's holy body shone brightly, and he looked like an invincible god. At this moment, Lin Chun channeled his saint energy and blasted out a punch in an ordinary manner. Rumble, bang, bang, bang. Inside the demonic prison of Heaven's Calamity, there was the sound of a star disintegrating. Endless disastrous energy blasted out and distorted the light. Inside the demonic prison of Heaven's Calamity, hundreds of thousands of miles of space was shattered into a vacuum. This was an area that was 10,000 times stronger than the sacred boundary space. Wow! Lin Ping An's eyes twinkled. She clenched her fist and said excitedly, Lin Chun, you can go out and destroy them. Too powerful. She knew that Lin Chun's strength was out of the ordinary. After condensing his acupoints, it was no small matter. But she never thought that he would be this strong. Lin Shen looked at his fist in shock. He could not believe it himself. Just by activating his holy power's lethality had exceeded 20,000 venerables. As expected, of the two most important foundation stages of the Saint stage, the condensing point and the expanding point, the stronger the foundation, the greater the leap in quality of each holy point that is opened. Lin Shen's battle intent raged, his arrogance overflowed, and the corners of his mouth curled into an evil arc. Without taking into account my cultivation method, my holy power's cultivation is comparable to 5,594 venerables. Including the Tai Sky techniques, virtual holy point, and the passive effect of the supreme God possession. My holy power's maximum lethality can reach 27,970 venerables. Nearly 28,000 venerables lethality. What did that mean? One had to know that except for a few peerless geniuses and the Saint talent rankings, ordinary heaven opening stage cultivators could only increase their holy power by 400 venerables after opening a holy point. However, Saint energy cultivation was cultivation, while actual combat strength was actual combat strength. Lin Shen's true combat strength had yet to be measured. There were too many factors that could affect the outcome of a battle between top Saint realm experts. It wasn't a battle that could be won by just relying on strength alone. It was just like a battle between an augmenting cavern martial artist and a life and death martial artist. Even if both sides had the same level of Saint power, it was still possible for the latter to win because the life force of a life and death martial artist was much stronger than an augmenting cavern martial artist. However, at the very least, Lin Shen had the ability to fight back. Come, let's go out. Just as Lin Shen was about to bring Lin Ping and out, he suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Lin Shen's gaze landed deep inside the Heaven Calamity Fiend prison. Ping'an, can you take me in? Lin Shen suddenly said. Lin Ping'an nodded. I can, but the energy in this area is becoming more and more violent. We have to hurry. If it becomes completely violent, not only will I not be able to absorb the energy here, I won't even be able to protect you. Then let's go. The two of them flew straight into the depths. Lin Shen could vaguely feel that there was a strange energy body deep inside the Heaven Calamity Fiend prison. Otherwise, why would the demons charge in here without any regard for anything else? The Heaven Calamity Fiend prison seemed to be limited, but in reality, it was as if they were separated by several galaxies. Lin Shen put away his doppelganger. His doppelganger was still at the augmenting cavern martial artist level. The reason was simple. Lin Shen's doppelganger's cultivation wouldn't automatically synchronize with the highest level it had. If he wanted to break through to a new level, he would have to use the doppelganger rune again. Lin Shen activated his Saint power and used the 9 wings of the heavenly demon to create a vacuum path. With his current cultivation, the 9 wings of the heavenly demon was ridiculously fast. It only took him a blink of an eye to cross the stars. In the depths of the Heaven Calamity Fiend prison, a purple-brown astrolabe was slowly spinning. In reality, only someone at Lin Shen's level of spiritual perception could detect that the astrolabe that seemed to be spinning slowly was actually spinning at an extremely fast speed. Even light couldn't escape from the space within 10,000 miles. It was sucked into the dark black astrolabe at the center. Space was twisting and collapsing, and time seemed to have fallen into an eternity there. Is this a black hole? Before Lin Shen could exclaim at this scene, he found out Lin Ping and was standing there in a daze. Right above the purple-brown astrolabe, there was a dark black crystal floating. It was surrounded by black light and was about the size of a dragon's eye. Lin Shen released his spiritual perception with all his might. The more he sensed it, the more terrifying he found it to be. That feeling was like falling into a bottomless abyss. It was bone-chilling. His entire body and even his spirit felt like it was being torn apart. It was as if all the disasters in the mortal world were about to befall him. What a terrifying disaster energy. It's as if it's the source of all the suffering and disasters in the mortal world. Lin Shen was shocked. His pupils shrank. He had only felt this feeling from Lin Ping, and it was a disaster of pain. It failed. Lin Ping and lowered his head. His eyes flickered. No one knew what he was thinking as he muttered to himself. It seems to be a calamity of pain from a few generations ago. It has existed for a very long time, even longer than me. It was surrounded and killed. Even after it died, endless amounts of calamity aura continued to attach itself to its will and form this thing. Lin Shen asked, "Does it still have consciousness?" Lin Ping and shook his head. It only has a tiny bit of consciousness left. It no longer has its previous intelligence. This is its final form after its energy materializes. It seems to want to leave with me. Lin Shen asked again, "Can you control it? This thing is no joke. How are you going to preserve it after you take it away?" "It won't hurt me. I can feel that it's asking me for help. It wants to leave this world completely. Moreover, I can seal it and then absorb it." Lin Chun thought for a moment. Then he said seriously, "Help me disperse these disasters, and I'll go take it away. However, after you seal it, give it to me for safekeeping. I can only let you absorb it after I confirm that it's not dangerous to you." Lin Shen brought Lin Ping and out of the holy prison so that she could obtain power and choose to live as a mortal. After absorbing this thing, Lin Ping and strength might increase greatly. However, Lin Shun had to ensure that she was absolutely safe before letting her touch it. "All right, I'll listen to you." Lin Ping and revealed her canine teeth. Seeing the serious expression on Lin Shen's face, she felt a warm feeling in her heart. Nizi waved her hand, and the disasters on both sides receded like the tide. Lin Shen immediately reached out and clenched his hand. The gigantic hand of holy light, swirling with 9 different colors, swiftly reached out and grabbed the dark calamity crystal in the air. Then it mustered up all its strength and pulled it toward itself. If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation had increased, Lin Shen wouldn't have been able to grab the dark disaster crystal core with his holy power. Lin Ping and tapped her forehead. A faint purple halo of light enveloped the dark disaster crystal core, and its violent energy began to slowly calm down. "All right, it's done." Lin Ping and obediently returned it to Lin Shun. He even personally placed several holy power seals on it. After confirming that it wouldn't go on a rampage, he tossed it into the Four Seasons plant pouch. "All right, let's go." Before Lin Shen could finish his sentence, his pupils suddenly contracted. In the instant that he placed the sealed dark disaster crystal core into the Four Seasons plant pouch, he discovered something strange. For crimson ribbons fluttered in the air. They were actually glowing with a faint red divine light, as if they had sensed something. Gasp! Lin Shun drew a sharp breath. He turned toward the center of the demonic prison of heaven's calamity. The purplish-brown wheels seemed to be hiding some kind of mystery within the boundless darkness. F***CK. It can't be. The divine crimson ribbons were reacting to the demonic prison of heaven's calamity. Chapter 1521. Ever since the day I obtained the divine scarlet ribbon, there has never been such a phenomenon. Lin Shen's heart was unable to calm down for a long time. The Clear Sky Sage King had chased after him for this item. Lin Xingchen had barged into the Boundary Tower and challenged all the experts to kill him. He wanted to snatch this item, and the divine scarlet ribbon seemed to be one of the reasons for the Great War of the 9 clans. What kind of treasure was this? Lin Shun had never bothered to think about the secrets it was hiding, because it was too far away from his level. But now, the divine scarlet ribbon actually reacted. Without a doubt, the divine scarlet ribbon sensed the space-time black hole in the center of the heaven's calamity devil prison. If I go in, will I be able to unravel its secret? Lin Chen's heartbeat quickened. For this item to be the reason for the Great War of the 9 clans, the secret it hid might be earth-shattering. If Lin Chen obtained it, he might really soar to the sky. With such a huge, fortuitous encounter in front of him, Lin Shun could not help but be moved. With my current strength, I can definitely protect myself if I enter the black hole. Lin Chun floated in the air. Lin Ping and looked at him doubtfully. After a while, Lin Shin turned around and left resolutely. He waved his hand and smiled. "Let's go, little girl. We're going out." Lin Ping and looked at Lin Shin doubtfully and smiled. Okay, perhaps Lin Shin's current cultivation level had skyrocketed and his strength could not be compared to the past, but this did not mean that he was invincible. It also did not mean that he could be arrogant. With Lin Shin's current strength, compared to the Great War of the Nine Clans, it was just so. Not to mention, the scarlet divine sash he possessed was incomplete when pieced together. Lin Shin did not care about life and death and dared to fight. When it was time to be tough, he would not be soft. But it did not mean that he was going to die. Under such circumstances, trying to pry into this kind of shocking secret was no different from stretching one's head to the guillotine. Even if I don't have the Crimson God Damask, with just the Tai Sky technique and the War God set, I believe that I will be able to stand at the peak of the sacred boundary one day. Gambling my life for a completely unknown opportunity is not my style. Before Lin Shin left, he took a deep look at the center of the Heaven Calamity Devil prison. One day, perhaps he would be able to unravel the secrets of this place. But now was definitely not the time. Now it's time to go out and settle the interest with these demons. Lin Shin stretched lazily, and holy power fluctuations that could sweep across 3,000 existential planes burst forth from his body. It just so happens that I've placed the innate 5 elements essence in the ultra space-time bit wall, which consumed a lot of my talent points. Now, I don't even have enough talent points to teleport back to Kyushu. Let's go out and kill a few demons to collect some attribute points. Boom! Lin Shin took a step forward, teleporting through the void. Outside the Heaven Calamity Fiend prison, the various experts looked at each other, their eyes filled with confusion. There's no movement. Could it be that the acupoint condensation failed? Did he die in there? Impossible. The life force of a 4th acupoint condensation is at the peak of perfection, and he's like the sun in the sky. He condensed acupoints 4,500 times in a row, which is shocking. There's no possibility of him dying in the middle. Could it be that he escaped when none of us could sense him? We can't rule out this possibility. Since this kid can sneak into the demon realm, it means that we might not be able to see through his disguise, just as the various experts were in a deadlock and discussing animatedly. A wave of calamity aura was torn apart. A tall and slender figure slowly stepped out, followed by a short-legged demon who also looked like a demon. Everyone was shocked. He appeared. This kid didn't die. All the experts carefully sized him up. He had a rising demonic aura all over his body, and he looked like a young man with a green dragon mark on his face. He was somewhat similar to the green demon tribe of the wilderness demon tribe. When facing all the devils, she was actually smiling like a rose. It's been hard on all of you to come all the way here to be killed by me. Thank you very much. Come, let me see which iron-headed demon wants to be the first to die. When the young man smiled, all the demons were stunned and instantly became furious. F***CK. Where did you get your confidence from? Don't move. At this moment, the first demon to speak was the demonic crown prince. He slowly stepped out, and a ferocious and cruel smile appeared on his devilishly handsome face. Human, I have to say that your disguise is very good. Even I couldn't see through it. However, you won't have any chance this time. No matter how strong you are at the acupoint condensation stage, no matter how bright your future is, you'll still be a dead soul under my hands. With a boom, bright red flames burned above the demonic crown prince's head. Hiss! All the demon lords completely gasped, and their faces were filled with fear as they all retreated. Boom! 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 The endless pressure was like the demonic emperor himself. It was supreme, domineering, and pure. It suppressed the entire world and swept across the universe. At this moment, it was as if time and space had stopped. This supreme demonic might was like 1,000 layers of planes suppressing the bloodline of all demons. If they were too close to the demonic crown prince, they wouldn't even be able to use half of their power. The demonic emperor bloodline. The crown prince used the demonic emperor bloodline. This kid is dead for sure. Once the demonic emperor bloodline is used, the crown prince can kill all the demon lords. The demons were shocked and shocked. The humans were even more shocked and sighed. Once the demonic crown prince activated the demonic emperor bloodline, it meant that he was serious. That's right. Just like Lin Chen's divine dragon Taishi divine light, it was a peerless skill that could only be used by activating the divine dragon bloodline. However, the demonic crown prince didn't even use his full strength just now, and he had already shattered Lin Chen's Taishi divine light. This didn't mean that Lin Chen's divine dragon bloodline was inferior to the demonic emperor bloodline. It was just that the difference between the two was the cultivation accumulated over time. Now that he used the demonic emperor bloodline, the demonic crown prince's power was on a completely different level than before. Chi chi chi. The demonic emperor bloodline burned fiercely, turning into a bright red blood flame that enveloped the demonic crown prince. He was like a demon god that had descended to the world. Previously, the demonic crown prince had to use the demonic emperor bloodline to take down a wild demon of unknown origin because of his status. Wasn't this like proving to the demons that the son of the demonic emperor was inferior to a wild demon? He couldn't abandon this status at all. However, the potential that Lin Shan had shown now was enough for him to use his true strength. If he didn't kill this kid, he would create a strong enemy for the demonic realm in the future. 4,500 times condensing. If I can let you grow, you will definitely be a peerless genius in the history of the human race. You are worth dying in my hands. One move. This prince can make you hover between life and death. I will let you know that potential and combat power are not the same thing. The demonic crown prince suddenly reached out with a palm. Even the demon lord couldn't see it clearly. Lin Chen sneered. So much nonsense. The moment Lin Chen activated his heart sutra, Lin Chen slammed his fist forward. Chi! Bang! A mushroom cloud as large as a galaxy rose up. The entire desolate land's boundary tilted. The demonic crown prince quickly retreated, actually retreating 10 steps. Lin Chen's figure retreated more than 10 steps, shattering the void. He was safe and sound. At this moment, the experts of the three races fell into a strange silence. What? The super geniuses almost thought that their eyes were playing tricks on them. I have presbyopia at such a young age? Are you serious? A condensation realm took a palm from the demonic crown prince. Lin Shan was actually able to receive the demonic brilliant crown prince's heaven-toppling strike with just his transformation realm cultivation. The demonic crown prince stared at Lin Shan, muttering to himself in disbelief. You are not only condensing thousands of times. Lin Shan sneered. The show has just begun, demonic crown prince. Chapter 1522. Not only were the humans dumbfounded, but even the dragon race and the demon race were shocked. What kind of joke was this? If the opponent was on the Saint Talent list, they wouldn't be surprised at all if he could fight with the demonic brilliant crown prince. According to the rumors of the humans in the desolate lands, the opponent was also on the Saint Talent list. But the problem was that this was a transformation realm. Which transformation realm human could be on the Saint Talent list? It was impossible. No, the red-haired saint thought of some possibilities, and his hair stood on end. This kid's total meridian condensation multiplier is far more than 10,700 times. All the human experts were terrified when they thought about it. That's right. If the total meridian condensation multiplier was only 10,700 times, even if he expanded his meridian, he should only have a few hundred Zune force at most. Previously, he fought with the demon crown prince with pure strength. Then what was he relying on now? His same power cultivation was 2F** King Strange. What realm was he at? Where did this guy who pretended to be a demon come from? Boom! Lin Chun clenched his fist, and the demon slayer battle spear appeared out of thin air. The crimson aura seemed to pierce the sky. All the humans were shocked. It was actually an 8th grade sacred artifact. Good Lord, where did this kid come from? An 8th grade sacred artifact. Only a few 5th Revolution saints or Saint Talentless have it. When a sacred artifact reaches the 8th grade, every one of them is a legendary weapon. As for 9th grade sacred artifacts, only 9th Revolution saints and Saint Kings can have them. The super monsters exclaimed. Lin Shen's Demon Slayer Battle Spear could extract top-tier Saint Demon crystals and absorb the lifetime energy of the demons to grow. This was the masterpiece of the two blacksmiths. He snapped his fingers. From now on, I'm not targeting any of you demons. I just want to hammer all of you demons to death. How arrogant. I'll kill you today. The demonic, brilliant crown prince clenched his fist, and a python-like blood energy swirled in his palm, turning into a blood blade that could split the sky. The blood blade was covered with shocking bloodlines. It was 10 meters long, and there was a dark red claw mark on the blade. It looked like an ancient blood demon was sealed in it. Demonic Brilliance Godblade? This is Lord Devil Emperor's divine ability. Run. The Crown Prince is going all out. Even someone as strong as the Demon Venerables couldn't help but be shocked. Holding the Demonic Brilliance Bloodblade, the Demonic Brilliance Crown Prince slashed across the sky. The tip of the blade flashed, and a blood light split the sky. Dance of the True Dragon. Lin Chen spun with one hand, and the spear spun like a flywheel. Millions of Saint power transformed into dragon chi, and with a clang, it stirred up the blood chi that filled the sky. It was like a heavenly maiden scattering flowers, and it exploded across the horizon. Endless flashes of bloody light shot towards Lin Shun like snowflakes. Lin Chen handled the situation with ease. As the corners of his lips curled up, he swung the Holy Demon Slayer Spear with both hands, unleashing 1,000 strikes in an instant. The chaotic, 9-colored draconic chi destroyed all of the incoming blood rays. Clang, clang, bang, bang, bang. A series of starburst-like explosions erupted, as if a destructive energy storm was blooming, engulfing the entire border of the demon territory, directly tearing apart the space barrier. However, the 4 super geniuses ranked in the top 200 had sharper eyes than the other geniuses. When they saw the situation of the battle, their pupils shrank. As Lin Shun swung the spear with both hands, he activated his Saint power to defend himself. He used a purple gold soft armor condensed by Saint power. Occasionally, he put his hand into his pocket and flicked his finger, shooting a few wanderer fruits into his mouth. He easily chewed them into his stomach with a relaxed expression. He's eating a pill. No, he's not injured at all. He's eating a wanderer fruit. Is he crazy? He's fighting the crown prince of the demon race at full power, and he dares to eat? The 4 geniuses were dumbfounded. Was this F** King serious? A transformation realm cultivator dared to eat snacks while fighting the crown prince of the demon race. The next moment, Lin Shun even took out a pair of black sunglasses from his pocket and put them on. That calm and composed attitude of facing the crown prince of the demon race made the 4 geniuses' scalps tingle. Damn, you dare to look down on this crown prince. Blood Emperor teleportation technique. The crown prince stepped on a burning dark red demon chi and disappeared in an instant. He traveled through the void and appeared behind Lin Shun as if he had teleported. His expression was ferocious, and his battle intent was wild. The Demon King's bloodline was burning to the extreme. The endless pressure was like thunder, trying to suppress Lin Shun. He held the sword with both hands and cut Lin Shen's head across the waist. Whoosh, whoosh. The tip of the sword flashed with bloody light and cut Lin Shun into pieces, leaving only a pair of sunglasses that were crushed into nothingness. An afterimage? What? When the crown prince's expression changed, a figure with 9 demon wings, holding a spear with red light surging around it, quickly changed into a spear wheel and smashed down furiously. Whoosh! Bang! The space between the 2 sides exploded, and the crown prince kept retreating. This was the first time he had been beaten back by Lin Shun. Crown Prince Mo Huang seemed to have lost his mind. His shoulders shivered as the blood saber flashed and slashed hundreds of times. The blood demon shadows that filled the sky with him as the center rose up like a rising tide and attacked Lin Chun. All the human genius's expressions changed drastically. This move was the one that the Crown Prince had used to crush their sky demon avatars in one move. But when the Crown Prince, who had activated the Demon King's bloodline, used this move, its power was more than 10 times stronger. Lin Chun could be said to be at ease. His 5 fingers touched his waist, and his 5 fingers grasped 3 sharp, flying knives with holy light flowing around them. The tips of the knives flashed with blade light. Lin Chun gathered all his saint power and suddenly threw them out. Instant light split shadow, lotus dance. Clang, whoosh, 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 whoosh. The flying knives pierced through the air, and the lotus shadows blotted out the sky. The blade light flashed wildly like a storm, hitting the Crown Prince's sky demon avatar's head-on. An unprecedented wave of energy surged like 2 vast galaxies colliding. A series of terrifying explosions occurred, and each explosion was enough to kill an early-stage sky-opening realm cultivator. The human and the demon fought earth-shattering battle. The 2 sides fought from the desolate demon and demon world border to the outside, and then they fought into the firmament star area, crushing countless meteors. Then they fought again. The endless attacks were like auroras that shuttled through the mortal world. Every time they collided, an apocalyptic energy shockwave would be set off. They were so fast that not many below the complete sky opening realm could see them clearly. The Crown Prince waved his hands, and layers of blade light flashed wildly like peerless blades. What was more terrifying was that his blade technique was mixed with other demon races' unique skills. Deadly Shurahan, 9-fold burning sky palm. 2 giant palms appeared in the blade light and spear shadows. One palm killed life and death, the other burned the sky with holy flames. They crashed together. Finger of Hell, Wind Demon killing, Sacred Finger. 2 more aurora-like finger beams tore through the void, exploding the star field. The experts of the various races were forced to retreat again and again, their faces full of shock. Is this really a transformative realm, human? Impossible. A transformative realm cultivator is at most a powerful saint power. How can his reaction speed and saint body's recovery speed keep up with the Crown Prince of the demon race? Am I crazy, or is the world crazy? The experts of the 3 races were overturned again and again. They realized that no common sense in the world was suitable for this guy who pretended to be a demon. Mother of Asterisk Kerr, such a heaven-defying existence. They really wanted to know, who was this guy? Chapter 1523. The man and the demon unleashed unprecedented skills. Every move was earth-shattering, stirring up the clouds and changing the color of the sky. This battle was already infinitely close to the level of the Saint talent ranking. As long as they were given enough time, it wouldn't be a problem for them to reach the height of the talent saint list. The demonic, brilliant Crown Prince was a rising star in the desolate demon and demonic realm. He had only risen in the last 100 years. Strictly speaking, there was a slight difference between him and the human talent saint list. That was why he had always wanted to challenge the human talent saint list himself. That was why he decided to come to the firmament star field. The demon sovereigns were so shocked that their hearts trembled. They knew very well what it meant to be able to fight a demon crown prince without any restrictions. In terms of combat power, the demon sovereigns were no weaker than the demonic brilliant crown prince. But the problem was the bloodline grade and life level. No matter how strong a tiger was, it was still a tiger. No matter how weak a true dragon was, it was still a true dragon. Just like the human talent saint list's holy infant, the demon emperor's bloodline was the same. It had a great suppressive effect on all living things. Any descendant who had reached the immortal realm had a bloodline advantage that could suppress countless living things in a mortal world. If the demon sovereigns were to face the demonic, brilliant crown prince who had activated his bloodline, they would be completely suppressed by the bloodline aura within a certain range. They wouldn't even be able to use 30 to 40% of their strength. Not only the demon sovereigns, but also the human race and the dragon race. However, seeing Lin Shun wearing a pair of sunglasses again, the demon sovereigns felt their scalps tingle. This kid acted as if nothing had happened. He was calmly facing the demonic, brilliant crown prince's demon emperor aura. What kind of deity was this? Not to mention that Lin Shen's willpower was unbelievably strong. With the Tai Sky Fu technique, Lin Shun could withstand the aura of the demon emperor. He wasn't even afraid of the demon emperor's aura. So why would he be afraid of the demon emperor's son? Lin Shun go. Lin Shun go. Crush him. Hit him with all your might. Lin Ping and was cheering for Lin Shun from the side with all his might. The demon sovereigns looked at each other and transmitted their voices. The crown prince won't be able to take this kid down in a short time. We'll help the crown prince later. Let's take down his accomplices first. That's right. As long as we fight a protracted battle, our clan will definitely win. This will always be our territory. Recently, his meridian condensation phenomenon must have alarmed the upper echelons. It won't be long before even more demon sovereigns arrive. As long as we can delay him, we will win. After making up their minds, all the demon venerables stepped into the air and headed straight for Lin Ping. Lin Shen was right. They will definitely come for me. Lin Pingon wrinkled her nose, revealing her white canine teeth. It's my turn to blow them all up. Lin Ping unrubbed her fists and was about to make a move when three figures stood in front of her and smiled. Wait a minute, lass. You and my doppelganger work together. As long as one of our doppelganger breaks through, it'll be enough to deal a heavy blow to the devil race. Lin Chen's avatar smiled. This was the perfect timing. In order to prepare for this battle, Lin Shun had stopped refining pills in advance for all his doppelgangers in the sacred boundary. Then, Lin Shen's doppelgangers all formed hand seals. Demon King Reincarnation Technique. Phantom Rune, activate again. Rumble. Whoosh. Whoosh. At this moment, Lin Shen's phantom doppelgangers in the sacred boundary suddenly disappeared. Outside the Heaven's Calamity Fiend prison, divine light descended from the sky. The divine light flowed, and many slender figures stepped out. Host has activated the Phantom Rune again. Host's current cultivation level has been synchronized. 12. 9 million top-grade runes have been consumed. Lin Shen's rune energy was almost depleted. He only had about 7 million rune energy left. His Phantom Rune would consume rune energy according to the host's cultivation level. The stronger the host's cultivation level, the more rune energy would be consumed. Lin Shun did not directly teleport his doppelgangers over through the beyond space-time dimension. His talent points were not enough to teleport 3 doppelgangers. He directly removed the doppelgangers in the sacred boundary and used the Phantom Rune again. The result was that all 6 of Lin Chen's doppelgangers had arrived. The moment the doppelgangers appeared, all the demon venerables arrived at almost the same time. Lin Shen's 6 doppelgangers were like gods descending from the heavens. They shook the sky, and 9 holy lights that could sweep away the sun, moon, and stars shot up into the sky. They were either standing with swords, carrying blue bows, or stepping on air with swords. All of them were extraordinarily handsome. All of Lin Shen's phantom doppelgangers faced all the demon venerables and attacked with all their might. Host has activated instant light, split shadows, and annihilation multiple times at the same time. 300 million top-grade talent points have been consumed. 9-layered burning sky palm. God's tears. Purple light, star shattering. Billions of starlight. Wind demon perishing, sacred finger. Lotus dance. Rumble. His attack was shocking. The tide-like lotus saber aura flashed wildly. Immediately after, another saber aura that spanned across the galaxy rapidly spun out. As the saber aura spun, it trembled slightly. The saber aura split into 5 and suddenly exploded, turning into countless saber aura fragments that ruthlessly twisted toward all the demon venerables. 5 purple light arrows turned into rainbows, piercing through the 4 demon venerables' attacks, and even forcing them back. When the wind demon aura that had split into 5 pierced through the 5 demon venerables' attacks, it tore open a shocking wound on their bodies, causing them to vomit blood on the spot. The sword light flashed with the dazzling light of billions of stars. It was incomparably dazzling. One sword cut through the 9 heavens. One sword cut through the group of demons. Bang! 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 The group of demons fell, each of them suffering different degrees of injuries. Demon blood splattered across the sky, shocking the experts of the human and dragon races. The demon venerables were injured, and there were a large number of attribute light balls left in the void. Lin Chen's sacred dragon quietly took them away. Chi! Bang! Lin Chen's main body was enhanced by the war god armor. When he knocked away the demonic crown prince's blood blade with his spear, he suddenly punched the demonic crown prince's chest violently. The demonic crown prince's demonic bones broke, and he spat out blood and flew back rapidly. At this moment, Lin Chen floated in the air. His silver robe fluttered without wind. He looked down on all living beings in the star field. No one could stop him. Such a scene completely shocked all the experts of the human race. One person fighting against a group of demons alone. He forced the demonic crown prince to retreat. A god has descended to the mortal world. A super beauty couldn't help but clamp her legs together, her green eyes shining. In this world, there was actually such a transcendent saint. He was so strong that it was unreasonable. This was Lin Chen's foundation. The war god armor was always his trump card. In terms of combat strength, as long as his cultivation increased, his cultivation foundation would shine brightly. Human race, if I want you to die, you will definitely die. The demonic crown prince's expression was so vicious that it was terrifying, just as he was about to wield the demonic blood blade again. However, the corners of Lin Chen's mouth rose crazily. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Super chaos. Ha! When the snap echoed, there was a tearing sound. All the demon venerables' demonic blood spurted out. Their injuries couldn't be stopped. Not only that, even their consciousness and demonic bodies were in different degrees of chaos. They immediately felt that the world was spinning, as if space was constantly spinning. They almost couldn't stand still. Lin Ping An's eyes shone like stars. Wow, this move is so powerful. I want to learn it. Chapter 1524. Is this guy still human? Someone as powerful as him can actually create 6 doppelgangers? Fake, it's too fake. He's so strong that it's like he's fake. Logically speaking, I don't think that our human race can produce such a heaven-defying genius. Think about it. If he reaches the star-receiving realm and the Sacred Heart realm, who in this sacred boundary can stop him? While the human race's super monsters were stunned. Rumble. Lin Chen's clones moved, and the 9 wings of the heavenly demon charged directly towards the demon venerables. If Lin Chen's 6 clones only had the strength on the surface, it would not be enough to threaten the 21 demon venerables. They were comparable to more than a dozen First Revolution sages, and a few of them were Second Revolution sages. However, Lin Chen's instant light split shadows combined with extinction split creation. These 2 super strong offensive talents were simply insane. These 2 great talents seemed to have grown together with Lin Chen's growth. For a moment, Lin Chen's clones were collecting attribute light balls while attacking the demon venerables. The demon sovereigns, who were in a state of super chaos, were caught off guard by Lin Chen's doppelgangers, who were constantly unleashing instant light and shadow clone. Well, what's going on? My injuries can't be healed by the bloodthirst technique. Strange, this is too strange. This kid's methods are strange. I can't even heal the injuries of a transformative realm cultivator. The demon venerables were attacked fiercely, and their scalps were numb. This was the most frustrating battle they had ever fought. Not only could they not recover from their injuries, but even their consciousness was blurry. The demon Venerable's consciousness was blurry and chaotic. This was a very terrifying thing. One had to know that the biggest difference between demon Venerables and First Revolution sages and above and heaven-opening realm sages was the sublimation of their battle consciousness and techniques. However, this absolute advantage was now half suppressed by Lin Shun. The Sacred Heart realm maximized the vitality of living beings, but Lin Shun had the extinction split creation talent, which restrained them completely. Lin Shun's super chaos talent could suppress more than half of their one instant thousand thoughts battle consciousness. It could be said that Lin Shun had suppressed the Sage Realm's strength transformation by 2 major domains. This foreshadowing was buried really deep. Very good. I didn't expect the super chaotic innate skill to have such a miraculous effect on the Demon Lord. I've changed my mind. Lin Shin's eyes shone with an ominous glint. Originally, he only wanted to kill a group of peak holy demon kings, accumulate enough attribute points, and then leave. Good heavens, the current demon Venerable's strength had been suppressed by nearly half. At most, he was only comparable to the peak of the heaven-opening stage. He was weaker than the majority of First Revolution saints. This kind of suppression was even more abnormal than any powerful slowing rune. If he didn't do it now, when would he? Kill these demon sovereigns. The 6 doppelgangers attacked wildly. Among the demon venerables, only the few veteran demon venerables who were comparable to Second Revolution saints could suppress Lin Shen's doppelgangers. Kaboom! Lin Shen's true body created a shockwave and traveled through the void. The heavenly demon's 9 wings furiously flapped as he stepped into the air and charged toward the 3 demon venerables closest to him. Trying to ambush me? Demonic, brilliant crown prince stepped into the air and moved the stars. Just as he was about to stop Lin Shun, a jade-white fist carried the aura of disaster as it crushed 1,000 layers of planes and knocked demonic, brilliant crown prince back. What? Demonic, brilliant crown prince gritted his teeth and turned around. Lin Ping unclenched his fists and chuckled. You've changed midway, Dumbo. Others might be afraid of your demon emperor bloodline, but I'm not. Lin Ping and didn't say anything else. He swung his fists and beat demonic, brilliant crown prince violently. Endless poisonous dragons roamed the sky and crazily crushed demonic, brilliant crown prince in all directions, sealing off his escape route. After absorbing the disaster aura of the demonic prison of disaster, Lin Ping's cultivation was close to that of a Third Revolution saint. Seeing that he had to deal with Lin Ping, and who was even more difficult to deal with than Lin Shun, demonic brilliant crown prince didn't have the chance to be distracted. He could only use more killer moves to defend himself. He was so frustrated that he almost vomited blood. In the past, he relied on his demon emperor bloodline to dominate the demonic realm. But today, he was defeated again and again. He was so angry. What kind of monsters were these guys? The 2 sides exchanged opponents in an instant. Lin Shun arrived beside the 4 injured demon venerables. Clang! Lin Shun didn't use his spear. He used his fastest and most powerful attack. He swung Absolute Blaze at close range and pulled out God's Tear. Explode! Lin Shun shouted coldly and used Flash Shadow. Bam! 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 5 snow-white saber auras exploded, turning into a storm of saber aura fragments, scattering and twisting like fragmented light. The injured demon venerables sucked in cold breaths. Damn it, this kid is crazy. How can he fight like this? Using such a huge area of effect and super explosive attack at such close range. Isn't he afraid that he will be killed? Taishi Divine Light, Golden Jade Clothes. A reddish-gold halo instantly surged around Lin Shun. His body was covered in a layer of faint golden light. Lin Shun instantly activated his absolute defense and his intermediate orange defense technique, Golden Jade Clothes, to resist his God's Tear. With Lin Shun's current cultivation, the scene of him executing God's Tear was sufficient to crush a stellar region into pieces. As long as Lin Chun swung his sword, stars would fall and the world would be destroyed. Every sword energy fragment was enough to cut a continent. Countless sword energy fragments mixed with mental power fragments, and saint power fragments almost instantly twisted the four demon venerables into the center of the sword energy fragment vortex. They didn't even have the chance to travel through the void. Their demonic chi defenses were pierced again and again. Their demon venerables were bleeding profusely. The most terrifying thing was that they couldn't heal themselves. Sluggish Rune. Lin Chun directly used all the runes to form the Sluggish Rune. The Sluggish Rune and Super Chaos Rune caused the four demon venerables to fall into a state of confusion and stagnation. It was close to a dead end. Oh no! Break free. This kid must be planning something. Let's do our best to break free. The four demon venerables had been through countless battles. As soon as they saw Lin Chen's attack, they immediately knew what this kid was planning to do. He must be planning something big. They must not let him succeed. Chi. The blood of the three demon venerables quickly dried up and receded like the tide. They consumed their own blood essence and burned their lifespan as the price. Their demonic chi soared into the sky, and they all wanted to break free. Demon venerables, it's too late. Before you die, you will see the most beautiful scene in this world. Lin Chen's palm was spinning with 9 different colors of starlight. 9 tribulation star. His elemental attributes had skyrocketed, and his saint energy had reached the level of 28,000 venerables. This 9 tribulation star, together with the instant light clone technique, was truly a heaven-toppling attack. Lin Chun raised his hand and swung it. The 9-colored starlight turned into the most beautiful meteor in the world and fell from the sky. Boom! The meteor pierced through the sky and exploded around the 4 demon venerables. 5 9-colored light pillars bloomed between heaven and earth. They were at least 10 million feet long and 10 million feet wide. They spun and flashed with 9 different colors of starlight. They were dazzling and radiant, and they silently released an aura of destruction. At this moment, all the powerhouses who witnessed this scene felt a chill run down their spines from the bottom of their feet to the top of their heads. It was a ghastly sight. Even if a second cycle sage was hit by this attack, he would definitely die. There was no earth-shattering explosion. There was only the dazzling 9-colored starlight. After a long time, when the light disappeared, 4 huge demon venerables were suspended in the void. They were dead. The demon venerables trembled violently. Dead? The 4 of them died, just like that. The demon venerables were shocked, but Lin Chun was not. He activated his body movement technique and rushed forward. He rushed into the pile of attribute light balls and directly grabbed the 4 orange-yellow attribute treasure chests in the air. These 4 attribute treasure chests meant that Lin Chun was 5 ranks higher than him. They were drops from killing the demon venerables with his own hands. What kind of attributes would they drop? When Lin Chun opened the first orange-yellow attribute treasure chest, Host has opened an exclusive attribute treasure chest. Host has received a one-time orange grade talent, ultimate heaven-defying talent. Lin Chun felt like he was struck by lightning. Ultimate heaven-defying talent? What kind of talent is this? Chapter 1525. Lin Chun was both surprised and confused. Wasn't this talent the same as the heaven-defying talent? However, when he noticed the second half of the talent description, he sucked in a breath of cold air. Applicable range? Below the immortal state? Including true gods? Lin Chun was dumbfounded. It was different from the heaven-defying talent. The heaven-defying talent was only applicable to the heaven-opening realm, but the ultimate heaven-defying talent was applicable to the immortal state. Didn't this mean that as long as the conditions were met, he would have another talent that could kill gods? Host has opened the talent-exclusive attribute treasure chest. You have received a one-time orange talent, God Slayer. Host has opened the talent-exclusive attribute treasure chest. You have received a mid-level orange talent, Destructive explosion. All hostile attacks have a 10% chance of penetrating one layer of the enemy's defense and causing a destructive explosion. Destructive explosion is applicable to all types of attacks, including spirit, pure strength, holy power, etc. Lin Shun opened another 2 attribute treasure chests. It could be said that he was pleasantly surprised again and again. This made Lin Shun go wild with joy. A demon venerable was a demon venerable after all. None of the attribute treasure chests dropped were bad. This destructive explosion was definitely a super talent that was on par with destructive destruction. It was fine if it was not triggered, but once it was triggered, it would cause fatal damage. Host has opened the talent-exclusive attribute treasure chest. You have received the system version 8. 0 update key. The system version 8. 0 can be updated. The required attribute value and subsequent functions are available. Please open the key to confirm. Host has received 4,010,000 rune energy points, 400 million advanced talent points, 470,000 intermediate strengthening points. Lin Shun had obtained the attribute values of the 4 demon venerables. All of them were terrifying. The system's new version. It's finally here. I wonder what new functions will be available in the new version. Lin Shun suppressed his surprise and entered all the attribute values. When he looked around, whether it was the human race, the demon race, or the dragon race, they were all shocked. They stared at Lin Shun as if they had seen a ghost. A transcendent demon venerable. In the history of the human race, there had never been such an abnormal battle record. This was the first time, and perhaps the last time. No matter how affected a demon venerable was, his battle awareness was incomparable to a transcendent demon venerable. No matter how many times he had condensed his acupoints, it was impossible for him to kill a demon venerable. All the experts racked their brains, but could not think of a single possibility. What they didn't know was that in reality, Lin Shin's battle awareness wasn't much weaker than the demon lord's. All of this originated from his spirit awakening. The system gave Lin Shin an instant increase in the speed of his awakened spirit power. In a way, it was similar to the demon lord in the 9 Revolution Saint opening the holy acupoints in their brains. I've dropped enough attribute points. Let's take this opportunity to kill 2 more. After putting the bodies of the 4 demon venerables into the ultra space-time bit wall, Lin Shin's eyes flashed fiercely, and he was about to aim at the other 2 demon venerables. Buzz! 2 strands of devilish might that came from different dimensions surged over like an indestructible will that suppressed the ages, and it intended to directly suppress Lin Shun. Demonic aura? Break! Lin Shun activated his heart sutra, and the Tai heaven concealing mantra circulated through his meridians. It was as if he had transformed into a heaven-piercing spear, tearing apart all the demonic might. No matter how strong the pressure was, it couldn't suppress him. What a mysterious human, and his disguise is almost perfect. Even his flesh and bones are completely that of a demon. If it wasn't for the saint power sealed in his heart, I wouldn't have been able to detect it. In the void, 2 exclamations reverberated. The human powerhouses were shocked and quickly retreated a large distance away from the boundary of the desolate demon and demon realms. Lin Shin narrowed his eyes. This demonic might is no small matter. It's far beyond any demon venerable. Sensing the arrival of 2 powerful wills, the demon venerables were ecstatic. It's the 2 lords. The 2 of them have finally come out of seclusion. It's finally time for this kid to die. As long as the human sage king doesn't appear, the 2 venerables are invincible. The demon race's morale was high. When Lin Shin's senses were awakened and eavesdropped, he immediately analyzed that they were 2 existences that were half a step away from becoming heavenly demon venerables. It seems that the 2 of them are comparable to 9 Revolution saints. Lin Shun immediately recalled the saint dragon back into his body and quickly retreated to Lin Ping An's side. Kid, you can't escape. The indifferent voice was mixed with bone-chilling killing intent, and the terrifying killing intent swept through the sky. In all directions, the space collapsed and distorted violently into a vortex. On the horizon of the desolate demon and demon realms, two monstrous demonic shadows faintly appeared. Whether you can escape or not, it's up to this handsome guy. Lin Shun spread his 9 wings, swept across the void, and pulled Lin Ping in. Moreover, he withdrew all his avatars and laughed mockingly at the demon race. Thank you for the gifts and resources. This handsome guy has earned a lot. Next time we meet, I will definitely light a wave of paper money for you and burn incense for you. Young man, you're very arrogant. You're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn? Another demon races will descended. It was actually another demon race, almighty, a peak demon venerable figure. Lin Shin secretly activated the space-time dimension and immediately connected with the spiritual avatar in the 9 regions continent. He shrugged and laughed. Stubbornness is just a small part of me. There are many more parts of me that are more stubborn than that. It's a pity that you won't have the chance to find out today. Today, you're trapped in the demon realm. How are you qualified to break out? Or are you a sage king? Stubborn. Let's kill this kid's physical body first. Endless demonic palms that covered the continent tore through the starry sky and pressed down on Lin Shun, not giving him any chance to escape. Whoosh, rumble. The demonic palms left behind and tore apart a star, but it hit nothing. It hit nothing. The demons were stunned. When they looked around again, Lin Shun and his avatars were nowhere to be seen. The demons were all dumbfounded. The dragon race and the human race had already quietly retreated and escaped. However, what happened in the past few days would start from the firmament star field and set off an unprecedented storm among the various races. Moreover, it would definitely be recorded in the history of the 3 races and be passed down through the ages. Half a month later, the sacred boundary was the first to shake. Even the Saint Talent Board received the news at the same time. For the first time in the history of the human race, a heaven-defying genius had appeared and sneaked into the demon realm. Even in the demon realm, breaking through the meridian condensation realm was unparalleled. A single meridian condensation realm had reached 4,500 times. Fighting the demonic Brilliance Crown Prince, the 36th Crown Prince of the demon realm with the cultivation of the condensation realm. Killing venerables with the cultivation of the condensation realm, and killing 4 venerables at that. Surrounded by many perfected realm demon venerables, he was extremely calm and even left calmly with a hint of mockery and ridicule. He simply entered and left the demon realm as if it was his backyard. Every matter was enough to shake a region in the history of the various races. However, all of them had been achieved by one person. However, no one knew who this ultimate genius was. The sacred boundary was once again filled with surging winds and clouds, and new waves and storms appeared. This storm, with the Holy Monarch domain and the Divine Flame Palace as the center, had begun a magnificent era. Chapter 1526. While the sacred boundary was in turmoil, a certain handsome boy was comfortably staying in the mortal world, enjoying the wonderful life of an immortal. He would tease the fairies and play with his gun when he had nothing to do. 9 provinces in a certain pavilion in Heavenly Song Academy. Fortunately, when I left a spiritual avatar in 9 provinces. It ran fast and was in a good world. Lin Shin rested his head on the beauty's lap and looked at the full curve above. He found that Yang Qinger looked very good from this angle. The beauty gently caressed the young man's face. He seemed to have never changed like this. Yin Qianyun and Ning Qingxian, one on the left and one on the right, massaged his shoulders and legs. It could be said that they were extremely comfortable, better than living immortals. I suddenly feel that if I have this life every day, why do I have to fight and kill? I really want to have a good sleep and not have to think about anything. Lin Shin murmured a few words and actually fell asleep. The girls couldn't help but smile. They didn't disturb him and quietly stayed by his side. In the 2 months after returning to 9 provinces, Lin Shun had experienced many life and death battles in the devil realm. His spirit had completely fallen into a tense state. Since breaking through to the middle stage of the transformation realm, Lin Shun felt that his spirit realm had faintly touched a new bottleneck. If he could break through, his spirit would turn into a primordial spirit and step into a new realm. After ending the battle in the devil realm, Lin Shun stayed in 9 provinces for almost an entire month and a half, entering a state of cultivation and recuperation. It was almost like he went out to pick up girls in the day, barbecue in the afternoon, and hugged Sister Yu Qi to sleep at night. But the little demon empress and Jian Qingsheng could see that Lin Shun was in the best state to brew his fighting spirit while relaxing. Once he exploded, it would be a moment that shook heaven and earth. The change came from the 70th day. Late at night, the stars flickered and the moonlight poured down. Under a tree, Lin Shun, who was leaning against an ancient tree and lazily eating barbecue, suddenly had a cold look in his eyes. Jian Qingsheng and the little demon empress beside him were shocked. A message came. Lin Shun opened a worn-out wheel in his palm. This thing was given to him by Jiang Taishu and could transmit sound to thousands of realms. What happened? Jian Qingsheng's bright red eyes flashed as she asked softly. There's a change in the Divine Flame Palace. The palace will choose a new palace master. The next palace master will be chosen in the Divine Flame God Investiture Ceremony in 4 months. Lin Shun narrowed his eyes. That was fast. He originally thought that the changes in the Divine Flame Palace would come a little later. In the 2 months since he returned to the 9 regions, 2 years had passed in the sacred boundary. 2 years, to a saint, was just a blink of an eye. But in these 2 years, Lin Shun's avatars were fighting for every second. His servants could be said to have recovered at a godly speed, and they had never stopped. First, he had managing bribing him. Then, he had the secret support of the Pill Region's Elder Guild. With the addition of Lin Shun's avatar and the support of the 2 giant alchemists, the strength of Lin Shun's team could be said to be growing at an unprecedented speed. Lin Shun originally thought that the conflicts and changes in the Divine Flame Palace would take at least 10 years, or even more before they could erupt. He never thought that this day would come so early. It seemed that the situation in the Divine Flame Palace was very complicated. At this time, the shabby jade light will actually flashed again. When Lin Shun received the message, his expression was even more interesting. The changes in the Divine Flame Palace are aggravated by external factors. Tianho and Demia have found out new information. It seems that there are more than 100 Saint Talents on the Saint Talent ranking secretly discussing some matters. Among them, they even received people from the Divine Flame Palace. When Jian Qingsheng and the little demon empress heard this, different degrees of shock appeared on their beautiful faces. What kind of concept was 100 Saint Talents on the Saint Talent ranking? This group of people, every single one of them, were people who could shake the sacred boundary with a stomp of their feet. Or were they secretly plotting at the same time? Haha. In short, the current sacred boundary looks calm, but in reality, the top forces are already divided and in turmoil. Lin Shun stood up. His entire body was filled with a saint aura that could sweep through 10,000 worlds. He chuckled lightly and looked calm. It's time to make a trip to the Divine Flame Palace and bring Sister Royan back. Divine light flashed in his eyes. Lin Shun's battle intent soared to the heavens. This time, he would calculate everything clearly. When he went to the sacred boundary, those towering sects and ancient families were all like immortal mountains that blocked Lin Shun's path. Now, the entire sacred boundary was open for him to roam. Even the legendary Saint Talent ranking was no longer so unreachable. It was close at hand. Lin Shun, darling Lin. At this time, Lung Yueqi, Ning Qingxian, and the other girls quickly flew over. Lung Yueqi said seriously, "You going back?" Lin Shun nodded. "Yes, you haven't become saints yet. Stay in the 9 provinces continent at ease. With the pills I make, becoming saints is only a matter of time. You must be careful." Yang Qing'er suddenly plucked up her courage and held Lin Shun's hand. Her cheeks were flushed. No matter what happens, don't risk your life. You only need to be the hero of the 9 provinces once. Don't go to the sacred boundary again. Lin Shen laughed mockingly and pretended to whistle. With you all here, how could I bear to be a hero? I only like to be a handsome guy who is unrestrained to the end. When I'm bored, I can hang out with beauties and brag. How happy would that be? I'm leaving. I'll be back soon. Lin Shen took a step and flew into the air. He turned into a shooting star with the little demon empress and the others and escaped into the void. The girls stared blankly in the direction he left and didn't leave for a long time. Inside the Heavenly Song Academy, in a pavilion, Shun Lianyun and Yun Tiange watched the shooting star flash by. Shun Lianyun looked at Yun Tiange and smiled. You have a good student. Yes, student Tiange. No, it should be the 9 provinces. It's our blessing to have such a student. Yun Tiange sighed. He didn't expect that he would be able to borrow another 100 generations of lifespan from the heavens. All of this was thanks to him, the most outstanding student in the history of the academy. Sacred Boundary, Saint Monarch region. A sun-like shrine floated in the sky. It was as if it stood in the 9 heavens, like a legend that would never fall. At the highest point of the shrine, a beautiful woman in a red palace dress slammed the table angrily. Her saintly aura was like a huge wave that shook the entire divine flame palace. What are you elders doing? Didn't I tell you to stop him for 100 years? You just let an outsider enter the divine flame palace and take control of the divine flame palace? How did you face your ancestors? Don't you feel ashamed to face your ancestors? Or are you saying that you don't even want your face anymore after living to this age? Are you going to be someone else's dog? The beautiful woman in red scolded angrily. The 10 elders in the hall didn't change their expressions. They sat there like rocks that would never change. Protector Shangwan, you don't understand. We are doing this for the future of the Divine Flame Palace. Giving it to Wu Pianju is the best choice. The upper echelons of the Divine Flame Palace wanted to give the power to Wu Pianju alone. Chapter 1527. Shangwan Ju's expression turned even colder after hearing the 10 elders' answer. Her beautiful eyes flashed with monstrous anger, like a burning divine flame. The aura emitted from her body burned the barrier of the void until it sizzled. She said coldly, "But he's a complete outsider. At least, he's not even a disciple of our godly flame palace. Bai Ruoyan is an orthodox disciple of our godly flame palace and the first person to control the eternal sacred fire. Bai Ruoyan has done so much for the godly flame palace. She has supported the new disciples and deciphered the new godly flame sutra, benefiting all the disciples. She opened a new sacred fire space with the power of the eternal sacred fire, allowing all the disciples to cultivate the heavenly flame sutra. In just a few years, how can an ordinary disciple achieve all these achievements? Even the palace lord agreed to pass the position to her. Why are you old guys interfering? Shangwan Ju questioned the elders of the godly flame palace. Huh, the leading white-haired elder laughed. Most of what you said can be done by young master Wu Pianju. The matter of young master Wu Pianju not being a member of the godly flame palace is a small matter. Although young master Wu Pianju already has a famous wife, as long as Bai Ruoyan marries him, Bai Ruoyan will have to suffer a little and become his concubine. Then wouldn't everything fall into place? Shangwan Ju angrily rebuked. Have you forgotten our agreement not to mention her marriage? Ha, Lord Protector, that was then, and now is now. The sacred boundary has been changing in recent years. Only those who dare to catch up with the tide and accept the new reforms can embrace the beginning of a new era. Lord Protector, you should step back. This era is about to undergo an unprecedented change. Our choice is to burn the flame of the godly flame palace until the last moment of the world. The answers of the 10 elders made Shangwan Ju's heart sink. She knew that several of the 10 supreme elders had switched sides to Wu Pianju. But what she found hard to imagine was what kind of bargaining chip the other party had offered to actually make all 10 of the Supreme Elders switch sides. Merit laws? Fortune? Secret treasures? Sacred treasures? She couldn't think of anything. She couldn't think of any conditions that Wu Pian could propose. How could he win over these 10 elders? Keep in mind that the Godly Flame Palace was a 9th-ranked giant, and these 10 Supreme Elders were second only to the 3 Supreme Elders. They were all supergiants that ruled over a region. They had seen all kinds of peerless cultivation techniques, legendary opportunities, and treasures. Even if it was the Saint Talent ranking, it would be extremely difficult to move all 10 of them at the same time. If the power of the 10 of them was concentrated, even she, as a venerable guardian, would not have as much right to speak and make decisions as them. Try to reason with you people. It seems like I'm really too stupid. Shangguan Ju's fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Flames swirled around her body like dancing fairies. Her gem-like eyes turned crimson red, with a delicate and translucent flame burning in them. The 10 elders were visibly moved. When would this woman change her bad temper? Damn her grandpa. She wanted to start a fight just because of a disagreement. Did she want to tear it down? Shangguan Ju sneered. Since you want to touch the sovereignty of Divine Flame Palace, then fight with me. This old lady became a Divine Flame venerable guardian in the past through fighting. If your fists are stronger than mine, then I will definitely not interfere. Madwoman, you are truly a madwoman. You want to fight with us here? We're the disciples outside. Do you want to destroy the foundation of our Divine Flame Palace? The 10 elders scolded with a tone full of dread. Disciples? How many of the disciples outside are female? How many of them are the orthodox disciples of our Divine Flame Palace? The Divine Flame Palace has been messed up. Let this protector clean up the place. As soon as she finished speaking, Shangguan Ju's slender hand slightly rotated and shot out a palm. Her 5 fingers surged with flames that could burn the world and destroy the sky. The power was not strong, but it immediately ignited the temperature in the palace. Enough. At this time, a voice carrying the sound of the grand Tao echoed in the void. The flames in Shangguan Ju's palm immediately extinguished as she squinted her eyes. You also want to fight with me? Surname Lan? Protector Lan. The 10 elders were pleasantly surprised. Another venerable guardian of the Divine Flame Palace. At this time, another figure slowly walked into the palace. He was handsome, with a pair of sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. His pair of blue eyes were clear and deep. He looked at Shangguan Ju and said indifferently, Protector Shangguan, you don't have to be stubborn anymore. This matter has already been confirmed by the Chief Grand Elder. At least we didn't make a firm decision on this matter. Didn't we give Bai Ruoyan a chance to challenge Wu Pianju in 4 months? Shangguan Ju's delicate body trembled. Chief Grand Elder? Even he also came out of seclusion? Shangguan Ju suddenly quieted down. She quietly looked at Protector Lan as if she wanted to see through him completely. Shangguan Ju's red lips moved slightly and suddenly said, Even the Chief Grand Elder has been invited by you. May I know what your bargaining chip is? Ha ha ha. Protector Lan laughed. He waved his sleeve and shot out a letter. Shangguan Ju caught it with one hand. See for yourself, Protector Shangguan. You will know how great our decision is this time. Protector Lan opened his arms. It was as if he was looking into the distance and witnessing 1,000 years of hegemony. In the Divine Lord Coronation Ceremony in 4 months, 10 Saint Talents on the Saint Talent ranking will personally come to Xinyin Palace to attend the ceremony. Xinyin Palace will once again return to the peak. This era will belong to us, to Xinyin Palace. The moment Shangguan Ju opened the letter, her beautiful eyes suddenly trembled. When she carefully read the contents of the letter, she was even more shocked. Wu Pianju actually had such a background and power behind her. What was more terrifying was their plan was even more earth-shattering. At the end of the letter, there were 100 densely packed names. Every single one of these 100 names was a legend that would be passed down through the ages, a legend that would never fade away. Every single one of them was a peerless genius that represented the absolute authority of the holy world. They were all names of saint talents on the saint talent ranking. A total of 100 saint talents on the saint talent ranking were all named in a letter. All of them had traces of their saint power, representing that they had signed it personally. What did this mean? This meant that the prosperous era described in the letter could be realized. No wonder the chief grand elder would side with them. This proposal is indeed irresistible. Even someone as strong as Protector Shangwan Ju couldn't calm down for a long time after reading the contents of the letter. The sky of the sacred boundary was going to change completely. The giant wheel of change would roll over, and no one could stop it. Lin Chun, please don't come to Xinyan Palace, Shangwan Ju muttered to herself in her heart. She was almost disheartened. Chapter 1528. Divine Flame Palace. The red sun hung in the sky, and the divine fire burned. It was as if there were thousands of red suns burning the world. On the Watermoon Pavilion, an exquisite chessboard was placed on top of a blue stone. A handsome and dignified young man sat in front of the exquisite chessboard as usual. He was dressed in white, and his elegance was stunning. He was like a saint who was untainted by the mortal world. It was as if he only needed to sit here to make all the phenomena set him off as the center of the world. Venerable Wu Pianju, all the deacons who have opposing opinions have been eliminated. Those who are dissatisfied will follow Venerable Wu's instructions. The Divine Lord Coronation ceremony can be held as scheduled in less than 4 months. At this time, 4 elders in red robes reported while kneeling on one knee. The dignified young man with an extraordinary temperament said calmly, without any change in expression, "What about the Lawkeeper Hall? Isn't that the place with the most opposition?" The bodies of the 4 people trembled. They looked at each other and revealed difficult expressions as they spoke hesitantly. The Lawkeeper Hall has Venerable Shangwan Ju, so it's not easy for us to do anything." "Oh." Wu Pianju showed some interest for the first time. "Is it a tough bone?" "No matter. After the Divine Lord Coronation ceremony, we can kill them all. It's just a Venerable who is a little troublesome. It's not a problem. Go, invite the audience here." Wu Pianju flicked her sleeves and looked into the distance with a smile on her face. How can there be a lack of audience for a good show? Only one main character will be born out of billions of living beings. When one person becomes the main character, they can do whatever they want. I, Wu Pianju, want this world to be in my hands. I want this group of saints to vanish. I want all living beings to be reincarnated. I want this era to belong to me. 7 days later, mysterious territory, Ice Heart Palace. Boom! A spatial light beam descended, and Lin Chun returned with the girls. "Welcome back, Lord." Inside Ice Heart Palace, rows of neatly arranged powerhouses knelt on one knee. They were all Lin Chen's servants. They were once famous geniuses of different regions and eras, and they had entered the holy prison for different reasons. Today, they had all returned to their peak. Now, it was time for them to return in glory. The moment Lin Chen returned, he flicked his sleeve, and the kneeling crowd immediately rose to their feet. Fairy Crimson stood in the hall. When she saw Lin Chun again, it was as if she could see through him. Her pupils shrank, condensing acupoints 1,000 times. No, it wasn't that simple. Look again, look again. Oh my God, what did he do in the mortal world? While Fairy Scarlet was still in shock, Lin Chun looked directly at the 17 people in the hall. Jiang Taishi bowed. "My lord, has the matter of the lower realm been completed?" Lin Chen nodded and smiled. "Well, as you said, I personally oversaw the 9 regions for more than 2 months to prevent the counterattack of the 9 great demonic eyes, demonic energy. During this time, the 9 kill nails of the 9 devil eyes have already been filled with a large amount of pure heavenly one holy water, so there are no major problems. Now, all the servants, including the strongest 17, had recovered to their peak condition. It was all thanks to manager Chiang's arrangements and the support of the Elixir Region's Elder Guild. In addition, Lin Shun had robbed a large number of resources from the desolate demon and devil realms that were to be transported to the extraterritorial battlefield. Those were all heavyweight, supreme treasures. All of them were sent back to the sacred boundary by Lin Shun, adding a cardiac stimulant for the most important moment. When Lin Shun saw the beautiful figures of Manager Ing and Tang Qianmei in the main hall, he flicked his finger, and a light ball suspended in the void appeared in front of Manager Ing. This is a 7th grade, peak-level, dreamless heartbreak pill. With this pill, you should be able to reach a higher level. Lin Shun chuckled. Manager Ying's pretty face was wild with joy. She immediately bowed and thanked him gratefully. Thank you, Your Excellency Lin Shun. Serve my people well in the future, and you will have a better future. Lin Shun smiled casually, and then looked at Tang Qianmei. Their eyes met, and Tang Qianmei's expression was full of complex emotions. She had worked hard to refine medicine here for 2 years, but she didn't have the slightest bit of resentment. Instead, she felt very fulfilled. In addition, Lin Shun had helped her integrate the proficiency of the cultivation method, and also helped her to break through several realms. After this, she was even closer to the 8th grade sacred medicine refining realm. Perhaps she would have a new breakthrough soon. Prince Lin Shun. Tang Qianmei was the first to speak. Her pretty eyes were full of seriousness and worry as she said seriously, I secretly received news from that person that there might be a drastic change in the sacred talent ranking, especially in the Divine Flame Palace. I'm afraid that a storm is brewing. No matter how big the storm is, it depends on whether it can blow me, Lin Shun. Lin Shun smiled mockingly, and his eyebrows were filled with absolute confidence. You have already received your reward. I, Lin Shun, am not a person who doesn't keep my promises. 2 years have passed, and you are now free. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. After speaking, Lin Shun turned around and didn't look at Tang Qianmei again. The beauty gritted her teeth and stared at the young man's back without saying anything. She clenched her fists. Then Lin Shun saw that Tianjin and Earth Annihilation happened to be here, and he smiled. You two are also here, and Qi Fian. The 3 of you, go and do something for me. Tianjin, Earth Annihilation, and Qi Fian cupped their fists respectfully and said in unison, Please give us your orders, Lord. Boom! Endless battle intent erupted from Lin Chen's body. It was like a spear or a divine sword that shot up to the sky. It was as if it was going to pierce through heaven and earth. The whole Ice Heart Palace trembled. The pupils of the many servants shrank. Their lord's cultivation had changed. It had changed so much that it couldn't be compared to the past at all. Even Tang Qianmei felt a kind of instinctive fear and trembling. The two of them were not on the same level at all. What exactly did he go through in these 2 years? Tang Qianmei's heart was shaken. That day when she helped Lin Shun fight against so many monstrous geniuses, his cultivation was far from this level. I want you to go and issue a challenge to the Divine Flame Palace. At this moment, Tang Qianmei and Manager Ing were so scared that their legs almost turned to jelly. Did they hear it wrong? Challenge a rank 9 sect. What was a rank 9 giant? It was the Myriad Era sect that created the sacred boundary in one fell swoop. When the sacred boundary was created, all the sects and clans in the sacred boundary could fall, but a rank 9 sect would never fall. There was once a sage who said that when a rank 9 sect fell, it would be the end of the sacred boundary. But today, someone actually issued a challenge to a rank 9 sect. What kind of confidence was this? All the servants were either excited, crazy, or exhilarated. This was their lord. Only this was worthy of their lord. Since the creation of the sacred boundary, no one had dared to provoke a rank 9 giant. Today, their lord was going to set an unprecedented precedent, personally going to the Sage Monarch region to challenge the Divine Flame Palace. I want the 3 of you to use the Divine Arrow as your will and the Sacred Sun as your sacrifice. Use the stars as your scroll and the sun and moon as your scroll. Divine Investiture Ceremony. challenged the divine flame palace. Lin Chen's laughter was overflowing with arrogance and tyranny. Heaven and earth destroyed. Heaven and earth destroyed. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. We accept the order. Chapter 1529. Great! The little demon empress clapped her hands, her beautiful eyes sparkling. She looked at Lin Shan with anticipation and curiosity. There's a good show to watch. Challenging a ninth-rank sect, this is a big show. Jian Qingsheng covered his red lips, his beautiful red eyes full of shock. Challenging a ninth-rank sect. This was a declaration of war against the top of the sacred boundary. Leng Yueqi, Ning Qingxian, and the others were also shocked. They knew that Lin Chen didn't do things according to the rules, but they didn't expect him to be so crazy. Then, Lin Chen continued. But before that, you have to fulfill your long-cherished wishes. Everyone was stunned. Lin Chen laughed heartily. I've promised you that those who once harmed you and those who once trapped you in the holy prison will all be exterminated after you come out. In the next 4 months, go and find out who your enemies are. I will set off with you all. If there's a grudge, there's a grudge. If there's a grudge, there's a grudge. Those who deserve to be killed will be killed. Lin Shan snapped his fingers and laughed domineeringly. Then, when you've done everything, you'll have no regrets. I want you to give me your lives and go to the Sage Monarch region to turn the sacred boundary upside down. Divine Flame Palace, behind a window that was as soft as jade. Master, you mean you want me and Ling Shuang to leave the Divine Flame Palace? The white-robed fairy behind the window exclaimed. It was by Ruoyan. The beautiful girl beside her had changed greatly. Her jade-like legs were long and slender, and her figure was tall. She was more than 8 meters tall, and her hair was tied up with a purplish-green ribbon. Her eyebrows were beautiful, and her obsidian-like eyes seemed to contain another world. Her beauty was enough to topple cities, and her dimples were shallow. The young girl didn't have too many decorations, but she was still an outstanding beauty. If Lin Chen was here, he probably wouldn't recognize that this was his cute and petite disciple. I don't want to leave. Everyone in Divine Flame Palace is so good to me. Why should I be afraid of that evil man? I'll beat him up in a few years. Shun Ling Shuang clenched her fists and grinned, revealing her white canine teeth. Shang Wanju was so angry that he laughed. He pinched her nose and said, He's not someone you can beat after cultivating for a few years. Then let my master do it. Shun Ling Shuang straightened her proud figure and said proudly, I don't believe that my master can't beat him up. Shang Wanju held his forehead. This girl hadn't been with Lin Shun for long. How did she learn his moves so well? Your master isn't any better than you. You're still young and have a future. Last time, your master activated your martial god bloodline. That's why you're like this. But that might not be a bad thing. At least for now, you two can't stay at Divine Flame Palace. Shang Wanju's pretty eyes shifted as he looked at Bai Ruoyan and said solemnly, Now, he has his eyes on your eternal sacred fire and Ling Shuang's martial god bloodline. Once he completely controls Divine Flame Palace, the first thing he'll do will be to deal with you two. Since Divine Flame Palace hasn't revealed the situation yet, I'll lead people from the Lawkeeper Hall to escort you out. There's a high chance that we can kill our way out. At that time, you can go find Lin Shin. Once you find him, don't ever return to the sacred boundary. Go to the vast mortal world and cultivate there for the rest of your lives. Shang Wanju's words made by Ruoyan's face changed slightly. She knew her master's temper very well. She wouldn't give in until the last moment if she could solve things with her fists. But this time, she actually gave in and even told him to go far away. After finding Lin Shun, they should never step into the sacred boundary again. It was conceivable that this time's operation and variables were not just the situation inside Divine Flame Palace. The forces involved were very complicated. Perhaps it would be an unprecedented behemoth. No, Bai Ruoyan shook her head. A touch of determination appeared on her beautiful face as she said decisively, Master, if you lead people from the Lawkeeper Hall to escort us, then what about yourself? What about the Lawkeeper Hall's guardians? How many people will lose their lives because of me and Ling Shuang? They are all old seniors who have guarded Divine Flame Palace for generations. How can they risk their lives because of me and Ling Shuang? Shangguan Ju was anxious. Why couldn't this disciple understand? Master, you should protect the Lawkeeper Hall and the remaining elders. Let them all unite. We still have hope. Bai Ruoyan's determined look made Shangguan Ju even more anxious. She directly grabbed Bai Ruoyan's wrist. What hope do we have? Don't you know the height of the Saint Talent list? 100 Saint Talents have united. They want to force us into a corner. Master. Suddenly, Bai Ruoyan's smile bloomed. It was so beautiful that even Shangguan Ju couldn't help but stare blankly for a moment. Master, do you think he will sit back and do nothing? Such a big thing happened in Divine Flame Palace, but he completely disappeared. Do you think he will do that? When the man in her heart was mentioned, Bai Ruoyan was full of smiles. For a man like him, it's fine if he keeps a high profile. The more silent he is, the more likely it is that he is accumulating strength to counterattack. I firmly believe that he will definitely come. Yes, Master will definitely come. If he doesn't, I will bite him. Shun Ling Shuang also pretended to be fierce and clenched her fist. If he doesn't come, I will bite him to death. So what if he comes? You too. I'm so anxious. Shangguan Ju was so angry that he was anxious. He couldn't forcibly take these two girls away. They were not the same as before. If they didn't cooperate, they would be discovered in minutes. Looking at the anxious Shangguan Ju, Bai Ruoyan smiled, but didn't say anything. When she turned to stare into the distance, her smile didn't have a trace of panic. I'll wait for you, Lin Lang, Wonder Domain, Ice Heart Palace. Lin Chen's servants began to move. They had already collected a lot of information about each other's enemies after they were released from prison. Now, they had officially reached the final stage, especially with Jiang Taishu, the diviner. Calculating the location of an individual was completely a small problem. Have you finished what I want? In Ice Heart Palace, Lin Chen looked at Manager Ng. The beautiful woman immediately bowed and said respectfully, It's done. Your Excellency, please follow me. Manager Ng led the way, bringing Lin Chen to a special place in Ice Heart Palace. At this time, even though Lin Chen's fighting spirit was soaring to the sky, he had restrained all his sharpness and was only waiting for the moment to be unsheathed. During the time Lin Chen was recuperating in the 9 provinces, he didn't completely derail himself from the sacred boundary. On the contrary, he was constantly monitoring every movement of Divine Flame Palace. With Tian Hui and Di Mie's methods, monitoring the movements of Divine Flame Palace was no problem at all. In addition, with the assistance of Jiang Taishu's arithmetic, they could conceal their auras and hide in the dark. With Gue Jian Chao's heavenly eye, it was enough to have a panoramic view of Divine Flame Palace's headquarters. As long as there was a fly in Divine Flame Palace, he, Lin Chen, would know. Therefore, he didn't need to be anxious at all. He wanted to completely accumulate strength. In this battle, he wanted to completely erupt the fighting spirit that had been brewing for a long time. At that time, he would be able to freely enter and exit the Sage Monarch domain. No one would be able to stop him. The gods were no longer here. Chaotic times were coming. Chapter 1530. Ice Heart Palace, 9-layer Heavenly Lake. This place was created by Lin Chen's servants. There were many kinds of energy pools for Lin Chen to use. Above this plane, there was a dazzling 5-color ball of light. It was the innate 5 elements origin essence. The energy of this item was too strong. It couldn't be stored in a spatial saint artifact or storage ring. Lin Chen couldn't open the space-time plane for a long time to store it. If he wanted to store it in a spatial saint artifact, he had to be at least grade 8. Grade 8 saint artifacts were the most difficult to forge. Even if Lin Chen had 2 grade 8 blacksmiths, they wouldn't have enough materials. Therefore, this plane was one of Lin Chen's temporary warehouses. Just in case, Lin Shun would leave his spiritual avatar here. If there were any changes, although the spiritual avatar wasn't very strong, it could quickly open the space-time plane. At this moment, Lin Shun and manager Ing arrived at the ice pool where cold air was rising. Inside, there was actually a sword that was surging with sharpness. Clang! The sword turned into a dragon's roar. The sword in the heavenly lake turned into a stream of light and shot into Lin Chen's hand. The sword was 4 feet and 7 inches long. It was as white as jade. Frost flowed on the tip of the sword. The blade was like an unpolished jade, and the sword tip was like a cicada's wing. The cold energy on the sword hilt turned into a pair of wings that fluttered slowly. The tip of the sword seemed to have faint traces of dragon scales that could freeze time. The sword's edge was bone-chilling. It danced in the wind, and its spirituality was excellent. It was as if a swing of the sword could freeze 1,000 realms. Grade 8 sword, heaven freezing sword. It was indeed created by extracting the cold energy of extreme hell. Thank you for helping me these 2 years, Lin Shun said with a smile. Manager Ing was flattered and waved her hand. Young Master Lin Shun, you're too courteous. I was only helping to gather information, and the person that truly went to retrieve the extreme hell heaven frost essence was Fairy Xiao Ling Er. How could I dare take credit for it? Hee. If it weren't for you, my team wouldn't have been able to recover to its peak state at the fastest speed. A single dreamless heartbreak pill isn't enough to offset your contribution. Lin Shun knew very well that his servant couldn't move freely. If she hadn't spent so much effort to open up the intelligence network and collect information about the treasures, the expansion of his team would have been slowed down by at least 1/3. Don't worry, after this matter is over, what you get will be proportional to what you put in. Lin Shun patted her shoulder. Manager Ing was overjoyed. Thank you for your appreciation, sir. Manager Ing was incomparably glad that she had chosen to help Lin Shun that day. She had made the right bet. Even though he had spent all the resources he had accumulated over the years, he had obtained an unprecedented bright future. His life would be reborn. After all, he was the only man in the sacred boundary that dared to challenge a rank 9 sect. Boom! With a rumble, a saber flew out of the hell volcano's energy pool. Several bloody lines appeared on the blade, as if it had been bathed in blood. A scorching heat was faintly emitting from it. 8th grade sacred artifact, Absolute Flame. All of Lin Chen's 7th grade sacred artifacts could be grown in different ways. The demon-slaying spear could absorb the energy of sacred demon crystals. The heaven-freezing sword could extract the essence of the extreme hell heavenly frost. The absolute flame saber could drink the blood of thousands of fire elemental sacred beasts to grow. Buzz! With a clear whistle, starlight flashed, and the light of the stars turned into a star bow. The bow was as blue as a crescent moon and was inlaid with cloud thunderstar stones. The starlight connected together, and the bowstring was like a bolt of lightning. 8th grade sacred artifact, 9 heavens stars fury. It could refine the violent power of the 9 heaven stars and increase its grade with the help of lightning. In the past 2 years, Lin Shun had entrusted his sacred artifacts to Jin Wuxia and Six-Finger Xinyuan. In addition, his servants all had a wide range of connections. If they needed anything, they could directly go to the major star fields to gather it. It was like adding wings to a tiger. Among the 3 flying sabers, the telepathic rhino flying saber can absorb its owner's spiritual power and have a telepathic connection with its owner. Rushing thunder can absorb the violent lightning of heaven and earth and refine it. It is estimated that it will be able to transform in the next 2 months. The problem is the last one, the burning god flying saber. Manager Ing exclaimed. A sacred artifact that could grow was really rare in the sacred boundary. Very good. If this continues, I should be able to upgrade all my sacred artifacts to 8th grade before I go to the Divine Flame Palace. Lin Chen nodded. His 8th grade sacred artifacts would be the strongest 8th grade sacred artifacts in the history of the sacred boundary. The effect of Enhance plus 15 would make all of Lin Chen's sacred artifacts far surpass ordinary 8th grade sacred artifacts. Thinking of this, Lin Chen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It was so King awesome to have a force of his own, especially when the force was full of experts among experts. It was even more awesome. Whatever you want, you just have to give the order, and your own people will prepare it for you. Otherwise, if Lin Chen were to rely on himself, God knows how long it would take to upgrade these sacred artifacts. No wonder those saint geniuses and monsters on the monster rankings have such a strong foundation. They have everything they lack. What's wrong with being a hedonistic son of a rich family? It's too boring. Lin Chen sighed. But then, Manager Ying continued. The Burning God Flying Saber specializes in the Tao of Spirit. The two blacksmiths have already analyzed the treasures needed to refine it. One of them is the energy storm of the polar star vortex. However, this kind of energy body is too difficult to find. The second is the primordial spirit divine flame. This item has a certain probability of forming the form of a sacred flame after one's spiritual realm enters the primordial spirit realm and dies. Its rarity is no less than the former, but Lin Chen was puzzled. But Manager Ying smiled flirtatiously. She covered her mouth and chuckled. However, it just so happens that there is news and a source for this item recently. Moreover, Prince Lin Chen, you have to make a trip personally. The Primordial Spirit Divine Flame is one of the prizes of the Monster Ranking Summit. As long as you win the championship, you can obtain it. This is currently the only way to obtain it. Lin Chen was stunned. The summit of the Monster Rankings Summit was the battle of the apex of every Monster Rankings. This summit was held in the Heavenly Sanctuary. All the monstrous geniuses would come to witness the birth of the apex of the Monster Rankings. Iceheart Palace, Holy Dragon Realm. This realm was specially created for Lin Chen's sacred dragon. A cold man in a reddish-gold robe was sitting cross-legged there. When Lin Chen stepped in, the cold man opened his eyes and turned into a stream of light that merged into Lin Chen's body. It was Lin Chen's sacred dragon. Very good. Back then, I killed those peak holy demon kings and demon sovereigns and let the sacred dragon absorb all their top-grade blood essence attributes. In addition to the desolate ancient dragon blood that Long Jioshan personally found for me in the past 2 years to refine my dragon body, I only need the last 100 Venerables power to break through 30,000 Venerables power. Now, my sacred dragon has reached the same height as my main body. Lin Chen's lips curled up. If he encountered the demonic, brilliant crown prince again, just his sacred dragon alone would be enough to make him suffer. Lin Chen looked into the distance as if he could see through the void. The summit of the Heavenly Sanctuary's monster rankings, huh? Looks like I can't keep a low profile as soon as I return. Looks like before I take revenge for everyone, I have to put in some effort and take the first place of the monster rankings. Chapter 1531. Sage Monarch Region, Divine Flame Palace's Territory, Nirvana Valley. Above Nirvana Valley, there was a sun-like, sacred flame burning. Holy splendor shone high up in the sky. Endless holy light shone in all directions. There was a strange phenomenon of a divine dragon spitting out a pearl and 100 phoenixes facing the sky. This was the scene of the Sage Monarch region. It was as if every inch of the mountains and rivers were filled with sacred light and sacred light. It was as if this was the eternal residence of a saint. It was like a paradise that mortals could not touch. Today, the Divine Flame Palace had an extraordinary vision. Several important guests had come to Nirvana Valley. Inside Nirvana Valley. Haha, I didn't expect the Divine Flame Palace to invite us one day. The conditions this time are very tempting. Well, after this trip, we can consider bringing more monsters to the conference. In a hall, many mighty figures of the human race gathered. Every mighty figure's aura was especially powerful. When they opened and closed their eyes, there was an eternal sacred light surging. These were all experts from rank 8 sects. Most importantly, these almighties were from the 10 strongest rank 8 sects. They were the top 10 sects that established the Demon Genius list and were known as the strongest sects below rank 9 giants. Today, I invited you all to speed up the process. If you can ride the tide of this era, you will also become the creators of the future. A nonchalant voice caused the mighty figures present to stand up in awe. A breeze blew past, and his white robe fluttered like clouds. The young man walked slowly into the hall with his hands behind his back. "Greetings, martial god, Wu Pianju." Even the rank 8 experts from the strongest sects couldn't help but sweat as they respectfully clasped their fists. This young man's gaze alone made them feel like they had fallen into eternal reincarnation. The bloodline of the martial god was world-shaking. Haha, you all are really lucky. Originally, with your level, you are not qualified to stand on the same level as us. I didn't expect Nephew Wu to extend an olive branch to you all today. Wu Pianju, is there something wrong with your brain? What's the use of recruiting these trash? Another 3 figures appeared, and the atmosphere in the hall suddenly changed. Wind and clouds gathered in Nirvana Valley. The person on the left had a sage-like demeanor. He had a head full of white hair and held a horsetail whisk in his hand. There was always a flash of sharpness between his brows. His gaze pierced through all the rank. 8 mighty figures present like a sharp sword. On the right, his physique was like a mountain. As he stood there, he seemed like a myriad of mountains that could suppress the heavens. Every single move he made emanated a might that could suppress a myriad of saints. The young man in the middle was even more mysterious. He had a head full of bright red hair, and his back was hunched. His hands were swaying, and his face was handsome and pale. However, there was a ruthlessness that seeped into his bones. Even first and second revolution sages did not dare to look him in the eye. He wore a tattered blood-red robe and was shrouded in blood chi. Like a halo, every inch of his skin was bleeding. Blood rolled out from every pore of his body and dripped onto the ground. Wherever he went, it turned into a torrential trail of blood and burned with a wisp of green smoke. It was as if this person had crawled out from a sea of blood. He was constantly spurting out blood. It was a ghastly sight. With his back hunched and his hands swaying, he walked in front of Wu Pianju like a walking corpse. He raised his head and laughed sinisterly. "If you mess this up, I'll be the first to kill you," Wu Pianju said with an otherworldly smile. "If you have the ability, then come at me now. I, Wu Pianju, never refuse a challenge." All the rank, 8 mighty figures sucked in a breath of cold air. This was yet another peerless figure on the Saint Talent ranking. He had created his own path of blood and was born by swallowing 10,000 drops of blood. He had refined billions of drops of blood essence to become a supreme being. He had even once controlled his own cultivation and completed a heaven-defying act. He had lowered his own cultivation, reversed his bloodline, closed his saint acupoints, and returned to the expanded acupoint realm. He was a super saint who had expanded his acupoints a second time. He was the calamity of blood for billions of living beings in the sacred boundary. All the evil sects that cultivated the path of blood originated from him. Talent Saint ranking Blood Calamity, Fong Xietian. Which of the rank 8 mighty figures present was not a first revolution or second revolution sage who had surpassed the heaven-opening realm? But when they stood next to Fong Xietian, they even had the fear of turning around and running away. Everyone on the Talent Saint ranking was ridiculously strong. This was indeed true. The two of you, let's not spar here for the Talent Saint ranking. Today, we're here to talk business. The white-robed elder patted Fong Xietian's shoulder and smiled, not caring that his hand was covered in blood. Fong Xietian glared at him and casually found a seat to sit down. He waved his hand and said, "Anyway, I'm just here to watch the show. Don't mess this up. You can do whatever you want with your divine Lord investiture ceremony." Wu Pianju sat down and smiled lightly. He glanced around, and all the rank 8 mighty figures immediately straightened their posture. "Everyone, what you need to do is very simple. After the summit of the Talent Saint ranking, negotiate with the top 2,000 geniuses and send them an invitation. Those who are willing to join us will naturally receive many benefits. Those who don't join will have to bear the consequences. The conditions are the same as the chips we've offered. Everyone, you should know that what I value is the relationship you have now and the inheritance of the forces you've accumulated over the years, not your strength. Wu Pianju tapped the table with his fingertips and said nonchalantly, "As long as I want to, I can directly wipe out the forces behind you from the map of the sacred boundary. You should know what to do." Yes, the rank. 8 mighty figures were sweating profusely as they trembled and cupped their fists. Even people as strong as them, who were known as mighty figures in the world, had to bow their heads one day. In this world, the higher one stood, the more one would realize that there were always more powerful figures above them. At this moment, when everyone did not expect it, the sound of wind whistling was heard. Chi! Rip! The space shattered, and the fire rushed into the sky, burning everything in its way. A sharp light spanned thousands of miles, as if it had crossed the void and shot toward them. What? A large number of powerhouses in the Divine Flame Palace were awakened. Guardian Lan, Guardian Shangwan, and the 2 Guardian Venerables also noticed it at the same time. Chi! Bang bang! With an explosion, a divine arrow pierced through the sky and directly pierced through the divine flame above the Divine Flame Palace. When a terrifying energy storm swept out, Shangwan Zhu and Guardian Lan, 2 Sage King-level guardians, took action at the same time to protect the main hall of the Divine Flame Palace without any damage. However, the symbol of the Divine Flame Palace was shot through. The intention was obvious. At this moment, all the powerhouses were shocked. Not only the Divine Flame Palace, but even the other rank, 9 giants in the Sage Monarch domain reacted with shock and astonishment. Who was it? Who dared to attack the Divine Flame Palace? How dare they? Swoosh! 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 At this moment, the sky in the distance was filled with saber lights. Immediately after the saber lights flashed, endless sonic booms were heard. Was it a meteor shower? Bang! 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 While the 2 Guardian Venerables were protecting the main hall of the Divine Flame Palace, a large number of meteors fell and bombarded the Nirvana Valley. Smoke billowed and countless large pits were blasted. When the elders were about to stop it, they realized that these meteors were not here to harm people. They were all shocked and bewildered. After a while, the meteors stopped falling and formed a series of extremely orderly pits. When the divine flame of the sun that was shot through the Divine Flame Palace sprinkled down, it floated above the vast pits and began to burn fiercely, turning into a sea of fire. These flames burned along the craters and formed several large words in the Nirvana Valley: Divine Investiture Ceremony, Divine Flame Challenge. All the powerhouses clearly witnessed this moment. An unprecedented shock rose from the bottom of their hearts and went straight to the top of their heads. Their bodies were boiling. Battle invitation. Battle invitation. In this world, there was actually someone who dared to issue a battle invitation to a rank 9 giant. Was the sacred boundary going to change? Chapter 1532. Wu Pianju slowly stood up with a profound gaze. Using the stars as an invitation to challenge the godly flame palace, Fang Xietian, who had been in low spirits, suddenly stood up. His blood moon-like eyes emitted a strong light for the first time. Interesting, too interesting. What do they want to do with us? Are they coming for the godly flame palace or us? All the 8th rank experts were horrified. If it wasn't for that shocking arrow that directly pierced through the godly flame palace's sacred sun flame, they would never believe that there was someone in this world who dared to challenge the godly flame palace. How many years had it been? No one had ever been able to shake the hegemony of a 9th ranked giant. Although the sacred boundary looked calm on the surface, in reality, many 8th ranked sects were controlled by 9th ranked giants. It was fine if they didn't give any orders, but once they did, not many 8th ranked sects dared to resist. Today, Someone actually used the most honorable method to pierce through the godly flame palace's sacred sun flame. This was like pulling one hair and affecting the whole body. This action was undoubtedly a show of strength to all the ninth-rank sects in the sacred boundary. Inside the main hall of the godly flame palace. What's going on? What are you all doing? You can't even defend against an external attack and let the enemy attack us openly? Where are the Lawkeeper Hall and the Heaven's Punishment Hall? You useless buckets let the enemy attack our godly flame palace directly? Many upper echelon elders angrily roared. The 10 supreme elders standing in the upper echelon of the godly flame palace fell into a strange silence. What kind of place was the godly flame palace? It was a giant sect that created one of the sacred boundary. Its foundation was so strong that it could sweep through all the major domains without many opponents. Was this a place where they could attack just because they wanted to? Impossible. There were 10 guest diviners in the godly flame palace, and all of them were powerful characters among the saint-level diviners. They were either selected from the top 8th rank sects or geniuses in the world of divination in the sacred boundary. With these 10 diviners in charge, the godly flame palace could predict and know all the dangers in the godly flame palace in advance. However, all the guest diviners in the godly flame palace just now, none of them had predicted this at all. The enemy's attack came just like that, and it even penetrated the defensive formation. In other words, the enemy also had diviners. Furthermore, it was at the highest level. It was far beyond the level of the godly flame palace. It was obvious that the other party had come prepared. They had directly blocked off the killing intent and heavenly secrets. In the void, a spatial vortex slowly appeared. It was the handsome and refined divine flame palace's guardian lawn. Previously, when he was protecting the main hall of the Divine Flame Palace, he had personally used his movement technique to traverse a range of millions of miles, searching for countless spatial planes. However, they all came up empty-handed. He simply could not find the position from which the attack was launched. His expression was especially solemn. First is the concealment of heavenly secrets. There are less than 5 diviners of this level in the entire sacred boundary. Could it be that some old monster had come into being? However, why would they dare to challenge my divine flame palace? They shouldn't have such a motive. Guardian Lawn fell into deep thought. Not only that, but they also dispelled our palace-protecting grand formation without us noticing. So much so that the attack directly penetrated through. This method of dissolving space is unprecedented. There's also the concealment of the aura. With my perception, I can't even sense where the arrow came from. I can't even find it. Who could use such a top-notch technique to eliminate aura? The more he thought about it, the more terrified he became. There's also that world-shaking, peerless arrow. Although the person who launched it has not become a Sage King, there's a kind of perfect and flawless intent realm, and there's a feeling that he still has strength left. At least the level of a 9th Revolution peak saint. Moreover, he's definitely not one of those old antiques whose vitality is about to pass away. His cultivation is not far from my realm. With his vision and experience as a guardian venerable, he speculated. The action just now could only be accomplished with the cooperation of at least 3 super experts. If that peerless diviner was included, there would be more than 4. Moreover, even if these experts were not as strong as a Sage King, they were not far from it. Even among the 9th Revolution saints, they were definitely the cream of the crop. Otherwise, it would be impossible to bypass the layers of defenses of the Divine Flame Palace and directly shoot through the Divine Flame Palace's sacred sun flame. Using the stars as a pillar, the sword pointed at the Divine Flame, a force that can bring out such a lineup. There are only a handful of the 36 regions in the sacred boundary. Guardian Lon looked into the distance, his gaze as sharp as a sword. He saw this matter very far, very deeply, and very thoroughly. There are definitely many hidden experts in the sacred boundary. The 36 regions were too vast. Even a Sage King would find it difficult to see the whole picture. He might not even be able to see through 1/10 of it. No one knew how many human experts were hiding in the sacred boundary. But one thing was for sure. The stronger the expert, the more arrogant and proud he would be. Guardian Lon was very clear about this point. Back then, if not for the Divine Flame Palace's former palace master saving his life, he would have become a Sage King. In addition, the former palace master was even willing to give him the opportunity to become a Sage King. That was why he was willing to join the Divine Flame Palace and become a Guardian Venerable. Otherwise, even if he was a Ninth Revolution saint back then, with his arrogance, it would not be enough for him to work for the Divine Flame Palace. Therefore, the seriousness of this matter was not only limited to these three super experts. From the nature of the matter, these three super experts could not shake the foundation of the Divine Flame Palace. But the problem was the person and the force behind them. It was the person who could gather all these super experts. That person was the #1 enemy of the Divine Flame Palace. Only a Tier 9 power would be able to bring out such a lineup. Our Divine Flame Palace has a record of all the 9th rank sects in the sacred boundary. None of them have the motive to do so. Then, who is it that has such means and the power to gather people? Guardian Lon fell into deep contemplation. An individual super expert was not scary. What was scary was when these super experts gathered together. That kind of influence could not be ignored by any of the 36 regions in the sacred boundary. Even the Sage King region could not do so. This was a force that could threaten a 9th rank sect. Even a top 8th rank alchemist could not gather such a lineup. Who would offend a 9th rank giant for the sake of an 8th rank alchemist? Wasn't that courting death? On the other side, seeing the burning flames and sea of fire in the sky, Shangguan-Ju, who was floating in the air, was completely stunned. Who was it, daring to eat a bear's heart and leopard's gall to challenge a 9th rank giant? Could it be him? Before he entered the genius list, he dared to massacre the genius list. When he entered the demon list, he dared to challenge the authority of the demon list. Now, he had been silent for 2 whole years. Could this kid be someone who did nothing for 2 years? Impossible. It must be him. Based on Shang Guanjue's understanding of this little guy, he was not the kind of person who would cultivate quietly without doing anything. Only he, Lin Shun, had the courage to be unafraid of heaven and earth. That brat is really like what Ruoyan said. He really came, and he wants to challenge the Divine Flame Palace. Shangguan-Ju's delicate body slightly trembled, and her heart throbbed. Too damn strong. He did not even want to negotiate and directly issued a challenge. The kid who was only a war emperor back then had grown to the point of challenging the Divine Flame Palace in just a few years. Chapter 1533. Shangguan-Ju thought in her heart, if it's really him, then the history of the sacred boundary will be completely rewritten. Even the strongest sage genius back then didn't have such a legendary growth speed. Shangguan-Ju's bright red lips couldn't help but curl up. The haze of the past few days was swept away. Now, everyone was pleasing to her eyes. This little guy had already grown to a height that she couldn't predict. If Guardian Lon could predict it, then so could she. Since Lin Shun could bring out such a strong lineup, it meant that he still had a backup plan. Noticing her abnormality, Guardian Lon frowned. Guardian Shangguan, what are you laughing at? Did you eat me shit? Ha ha ha. Lon Jingyu. Let's wait for a good show. From now on, everything is unknown. Shangguan-Ju laughed out loud. Wu Pianju, your opponent is here. Guardian Lon. ? There was only one thing left for Shangguan-Ju to do now, which was to protect the elders in the Divine Flame Palace who hadn't changed sides. Inside the Divine Flame Palace. Great. This is Master, right? It must be Master's doing. Shenling Shuang jumped up happily and clapped her hands. She was so excited that her face was flushed. She was especially happy. Bai Ruoyan's beautiful eyes flickered. When her smile bloomed, it was unparalleled. I still believe that he will come. Ling Shuang, we just need to wait quietly for him to proceed. When her smile faded, Bai Ruoyan's eyes flashed with a rare trace of coldness. I will remember every life of the Divine Flame Palace that Wu Pianju killed. I will personally take them back for the Palace Master. Ling Shuang, let's go to the realm of nothingness. Continue to cultivate. Hearing this, Shun Ling Shuang's face turned bitter. Still cultivating? Staying in there for a year is only a month in the outside world. Bai Ruoyan smiled faintly. Others want to enter the realm of nothingness, but can't. Aren't you satisfied that you can enter and leave as you wish? Shun Ling Shuang shook her head. No, I don't like to cultivate, Bai Ruoyan continued. Then do you want to disappoint your master? If he comes here and sees that you're not cultivating diligently and even dragging him down, what do you think he will do? Shun Ling Shuang recalled the time when she participated in the Heaven List competition on Rainbow Island. Lin Chen's expression when he found out that she had a cultivation method but didn't practice it. Shun Ling Shuang immediately shrunk her neck, and her beautiful dimples were full of bitterness. I'll go. Okay, Byron didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This girl clearly possessed a peerless talent that could cause the sacred boundary to tremble, yet she just didn't like to cultivate. Outside Divine Flame Palace, Wu Pianju broke off a feather on the ground and frowned slightly. This arrow is aimed at my Divine Flame Palace? He looked into the distance and sneered. Or are you here for me? No matter who you are, I, Wu Pianju, will kill you all. The news of the Godflame Palace being issued a challenge was quickly sealed off. Because the attack was launched from the territory of the Divine Flame Palace, other than the 9th rank sects, no other forces knew about it. Those 8th rank experts who knew about it did not dare to say anything. At this moment, on the other side, Heavenly Sanctuary, the leader of the 100,000 dragon cities, Ancient Dragon City. Over the past 2 years, too many changes had happened in the sacred boundary, and many shocking secrets had surfaced. Moreover, even more shocking news spread, and it gave countless forces in the various regions the motivation to move forward. Some of them, such as those who had advanced to the top of the demon list, and the hundreds of demons who had disappeared at the same time, had all died at the same time after the top 10 forces announced it. This shocking news had caused an uproar among countless sects and families. Within the Heavenly Sanctuary, more legends had risen, pushing the names of legends to the peak. There was a saint-level alchemist who had advanced to the peak of the 8th rank on the saint talent list, only one step away from the legendary 9th rank. It shocked all regions. There was also a saint-level talent on the saint talent list who had comprehended a supreme cultivation method and had held an unprecedented orange-level cultivation method conference. This conference stated that anyone who had become a saint would have the opportunity to cultivate an orange-level cultivation method. Furthermore, there is also the legend of the Divine Flame Palace, the descendant of the martial god, Wu Pianju. He had comprehended for 100 years and had an epiphany, creating an advanced orange-level combat technique. Tens of thousands of sects were excited, and the world was in an uproar. Only a few examples of a top-level orange-level cultivation method in the sacred boundary had been recorded in history. An advanced orange-level cultivation method was close to the highest-level cultivation method in the sacred boundaries human history. Only a few Saint Kings and immortal realm cultivators could create such a cultivation method. Wu Pianju's ability to create an advanced orange-level cultivation method meant that he could single-handedly push the cultivation method civilization of the entire sacred boundary forward. The Divine Flame Palace's god investiture ceremony in a few months was even more grand. All the saints in the sacred boundary had a premonition that this was a sign of the arrival of a great era. Of course, a small number of people knew that there was another legend that was even more terrifying. That was the human who had appeared out of nowhere 2 years ago, the condensing acupoint realm cultivator in the demon realm. Even now, many of the 8th rank forces who had heard the news could not guess who that person was. In the ancient dragon city, there were 4 stages and the venue was divided into 4 major venues. All the 8th rank sects were gathered there. Saints gathered like a sea. Transformative realm cultivators were as numerous as dogs. Life and death realm cultivators appeared in groups. Saint Heart realm cultivators filled the stage, and many heaven-opening realm cultivators came as well. This scene was very spectacular, and it was much better than the heavenly stairway competition of the past. Zue Lao Wang and the others were also here. Madame Yi Li Shue from the Yi family had also come. The Yi family also had other monstrous geniuses who had been nominated for the Heavenly Demon Genius ranking. They were now participating in the summit, striving for a new ranking. Almost 2/3 of the 8th rank sects in the sacred boundary had all arrived. Saints were supreme existences in the secular world, but here, those who had not reached the acupoint opening realm were not even qualified to enter this level of competition. The world was always vast, and if one had not reached the corresponding level, one would never know that this world could have such a scene. All the monstrous geniuses were like the sun in the sky. As soon as they appeared, they became the focus of the 4 venues. Today, the favorites of the era would be determined, and who would be the number 1 on the Heavenly Demon Genius ranking. Cough, cough, cough. A bald old man floated in the air with an amiable smile on his face. Ha! It's been a long time since I've seen such a grand event. The rules for this summit meeting are the same as before. Every 100 monstrous geniuses will draw a slot for the Heavenly Demon Genius ranking. The winner of 2 out of 3 rounds can continue to challenge monstrous geniuses of higher ranks. The bald old man was about to make the final decision. Then, this summit meeting will officially begin. It will officially begin in a moment, because we still have a handsome young man who is about to appear at the summit meeting of the Heavenly Demon Genius ranking. At this moment, a clear young man's laughter interrupted the bald old man. All the saints in the 4 venues were stunned. God said, "Let there be light." Thus, there will be light in the mortal world. God said, "I want to see the most handsome man." Thus I am here. Whoosh! Strong winds blew, and a spatial vortex appeared in the air. A young man in a silver robe stepped out. He was handsome, and there was a cynical smile on his face. "Everyone, long time no see. It's been 2 years since you see me show off. Do you miss me?" All the mighty figures of the 8th rank sects stood up, stunned. Lin Chun. Chapter 1534. Lin Chun. That name was both unfamiliar and familiar, because in the past 2 years, the sacred boundary had been like a raging storm. There were too many amazing geniuses that had appeared. Even the Saint Talent ranking, which had always kept a low profile, appeared one after another. Almost everyone was shocked by too many legendary figures. However, it was absolutely impossible for him to forget about it, because he was the only saint in the sacred boundary to have expanded his acupoints by 30,000 times. Lin Chun, why is he here? He's also here to interfere with the summit of the Monster Talent ranking? Wasn't there a rumor that he was too arrogant and was beaten to death by an almighty? Is there? Why is it that I heard the rumor that he's a kept man? Why is it that I heard the rumor that he sneaked into the dragon race and had sex with 3 female dragons? Immediately, a heated discussion broke out. All the geniuses looked at Lin Chun curiously. Although Lin Chun's name was not on the Saint Talent ranking, it was no less popular than the Saint Talent ranking. Among them, a small number of geniuses had extremely powerful cultivations and were filled with fierce killing intent. Obviously, many of them had returned from the extraterritorial battlefield. Geniuses who had experienced the extraterritorial battlefield were on a completely different level from ordinary geniuses. On the high platform, all the grade 8 almighties frowned. Lin Chun, is that the kid who challenged the Monster Talent ranking? Should we take him down? No. In front of so many people, it will damage the reputation of the Monster Talent ranking. According to the rules, this kid is also on the Monster Talent ranking and is qualified to participate in this competition. Besides, even if he killed someone on the Monster Talent ranking, if we can't take him to the law enforcement hall, we can't remove him from the Monster Talent ranking. However, when more and more grade 8 almighties looked at each other, their pupils constricted. They had discovered a terrifying fact. Not only were they unable to see through Lin Chen's cultivation, but even those in the heaven-opening realm who released their perception to approach Lin Chen felt an instinctive fear that went deep into their bones. Could it be that this kid had some kind of killing weapon on him? Could it cause even heaven-opening realm cultivators to feel apprehensive? Lin Chen scanned the entire area, especially the three ghostly saints. When their eyes met with Lin Chen's, the three ghostly saints' hairs stood on end. When the two of them had first met, Lin Chen hadn't even been able to receive a single palm from this early-stage heaven-opening old monster. Now, Lin Chen could suppress the baleful three ghost saints with a single glance. Lin Chen, do you also want to participate in the peak meeting of the genius list? At this time, the bald sage who was floating in the air was very easy to communicate with. He did not put on any airs and just smiled faintly. Whoosh! Lin Chen landed and entered the arena. He nodded with a smile and said, "That's right. This is the summit of the genius list. Since the first place of the genius list will be decided, I naturally can't miss it." Oh! Lin Chen's words immediately aroused the scorn and battle intent of many monstrous geniuses. Wasn't this guy subconsciously implying that Qin Nan was qualified to be ranked first on the monster ranking? A brat who had been on the monster ranking for less than 100 years also wanted to be ranked first on the monster ranking? Then Lin Chen said with a faint smile, Everyone, this is the peak meeting of the genius list. It's too boring to always have a single-person ranking system. Why don't we have something new, fair, and interesting?" "No." The bald old man suddenly became serious. "Lin Chen, you have no right to interfere with the competition content of the peak meeting of the genius list. The summit has always had such rules. It can't be changed because of someone. If a random monstrous genius could change the rules, wouldn't it be a mess?" Lin Chen scratched his head. If they really followed the normal procedure, they would have to fight for at least 2 months. Normally, 2 months would pass in the blink of an eye. However, Lin Chen didn't have that kind of time. Lin Chen was helpless. I'm in a hurry. I have something important to do." Lin Chen's helpless words immediately attracted the scorn and laughter of everyone present. "Haha, in a hurry? Something important to do? What can be more important than the peak meeting of the monster ranking? Is he in a hurry to go to the bridal chamber? Ha! I think he's blind and arrogant. He thinks he can look down on everyone just because he's a little talented. He really thinks he's the main character. In terms of monstrous geniuses, there are countless of them here." Countless sages sneered. Lin Chen held his forehead and rolled his eyes. "Damn it. I'm in a hurry to fight the Divine Flame Palace. Who the hell has the time to play with you guys here? How about this? As far as I know, the super monstrous geniuses on the monster ranking can challenge each other at the summit, right?" At that moment, Lin Chen spoke again. The bald old man nodded. "That's right. However, if you challenge a monstrous genius with a higher ranking than you, you have to get the other party's consent and pay the corresponding price." The corners of Lin Chen's mouth curled up. "That's easy then." Lin Chen waved his hand. Boom! A hurricane swept across the 4 venues, and the weather changed. Holy light twirled around endlessly. Countless treasure light and holy light swam like floating clouds, dreamy and blurry. Endless providence vortexes spun as if a world had descended. Golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, and crescent-shaped flowers bloomed all over the sky. It was magnificent. Streams of holy light illuminated the mountains and rivers. There were even more terrifying auras with holy power lingering around, as if a holy spirit had descended upon the world. It was the phenomenon of an 8th-grade sacred artifact. And there was more than one. Countless holy lights illuminated different phenomena, illuminating the 4 great venues. At that moment, all the experts present stood up instantly. Their faces were filled with shock, and they even felt their scalps tingling. There was no one who wasn't moved. Among these treasures, there were as many as 12 high-grade spirit herbs that had matured to the peak. There were a total of 86 middle-grade spirit herbs and 586 low-grade spirit herbs. Among them, there was no lack of middle-grade wandering divine tree, middle-grade nine-yang dragon blood tree, sky ice heart exquisite sacred plant, and rootless holy spirit vine. There were also 8th grade sacred ores, thousands of middle-grade odd crystals for 8th grade sacred pills, and 25 7th grade peak sacred pills. Other than that, there were 4 8th grade sacred artifacts. It was too terrifying, this amount of wealth. It was enough to rival multiple 8th grade sects. The myriad of holy lights served as a foil to the silver-robed youth in the center, like the stars supporting the moon. He opened his arms and laughed heartily. Ladies and gentlemen, this is part of what I have on hand right now. Part? Hearing this number, many 8th grade experts' mouths twitched. This was only a part? When Lin Chen's servants recovered from their injuries, with their foundation, knowledge, and experience, it was a piece of cake for them to search for middle-grade and high-grade spirit herbs. One had to know that some of the servants on the 19th level of the Holy Dungeon, at their peak, even had supreme-grade spirit herbs. I will use these treasures as chips to challenge the monstrous geniuses. The winner can divide my wealth, but if I lose, all these treasures will belong to the winner. If I win, then I will inherit the highest ranking. If I can win all the way, then the first place on the monstrous genius list will belong to me. How about that? Lin Chen's words stirred up 1,000 waves. Chapter 1535. Lin Chen's servants had personally taken action. In addition, Lin Chen had robbed the desolate demon and devil worlds. His total wealth had reached an unimaginable level, far surpassing rank 8, that was for sure. However, compared to a real grade 9 giant, it might not be enough. Grade 8 sacred artifact. There are grade 8 sacred pills too. I just happen to be lacking a flying knife. I originally thought that I would have to go to the extraterritorial battlefield for more than 10 years to exchange for a grade 7 sacred flying knife. Who would have thought that there would be a grade 8 sacred flying knife here? Only children make choices. I want to go down and beat up this Lin Chen. I want all of it. Hey, what are you doing? Count me in. Many of the monstrous geniuses who had no interest in Lin Chen were suddenly filled with fighting spirit. Lin Chen's wealth had attracted the attention of all the demons. No one could remain unmoved. A power as strong as a rank 9 giant wouldn't be able to take out a rank 8 saint treasure so easily, not to mention taking out 4 at once. Among the super monstrous geniuses who were ranked in the top 1,000, there were no more than 5 who possessed a grade 8 sacred artifact. The real ones could be counted on one's fingers. This kind of heaven-defying artifact could only be obtained by peak sages in the saint talent rankings. The super demons present rubbed their palms together, especially those in the top 1,000. They had more or less heard that Lin Chen had the battle strength to kill heaven-opening realm and peak saint demon kings. However, they also had the same battle strength. Moreover, after experiencing the baptism of the extraterritorial battlefield, they did not think that they were inferior to Lin Chen. In the VIP seats, the upper echelons of the Yi clan were all shocked. Only the madam of the Yi clan, Yi Lixue, looked deeply at Lin Chen and narrowed her eyes. What did he go through? How did he grow so quickly? In these 2 years, Yi Lixue had focused on collecting information about Lin Chen. Yi Lixue was well aware of his performance at the cultivation technique exchange meet. 2 years ago, she could not see through this youth. 2 years later, she couldn't see through him at all. It was as if the more she tried to understand him, the more she realized that everything around him was so unreasonable and mysterious. His behavior could not be deduced using common sense. How about it? Seniors, I don't think my challenge is against the rules, right? Lin Chen smiled. The other rank 8 almighties looked at each other. Lin Chen, wait a moment. We need to discuss this matter with the higher-ups. 2 beautiful women in blue robes who were like twins bowed slightly. Both of them were at the heaven opening realm. At this moment, they stepped into the air, heading towards the high platform in the east. Lin Shen stared at the high platform. There were 10 white-haired old men sitting cross-legged on their seats like old monks in meditation. They were like statues that would not change since the ancient times. Oh, 5 peak heaven opening realm cultivators and 5 first revolution saints? Lin Shen raised his eyebrows and laughed in his heart. This is probably the person who organized the monster genius list. Sensing Lin Shen's gaze, the 10 old antiques opened their eyes at the same time. An obscure sage aura pressed down on Lin Shen, but he was calm and collected. Oh, this child is extraordinary. His mind is as firm as a rock, and his eyes are clear and bright. He is not a reckless person. These old antiques had an extremely high evaluation of Lin Shen the moment they met. They were all old monsters that had existed since the beginning of the sacred boundary. They had retreated behind the scenes for who knew how many years. The 2 beautiful women reported Lin Shen's request, and the 10 old antiques looked at each other. Dozens of breaths later, 2 beautiful and mature women floated over with a smile on their faces. Lin Shen, your condition has been approved. Please put away the treasure in your Providence plant pouch for now. Lin Shen smiled mockingly. I knew that the 2 beautiful seniors would be reasonable and would definitely help me get it. When you figured out one day, let's go eat spicy hot pot together. The 2 beautiful women covered their mouths and chuckled. What a glib tongue, Lin Shen said. Shouldn't this be called romantic and elegant? Next, the 2 heaven-opening realm beauties spoke solemnly. Okay, let's get down to business. You can challenge the monstrous geniuses and prodigies ranked higher than you. Your number of victories will be determined according to the rules of the summit meeting. You can advance to the next round if you win 2 out of 3 challenges. You can freely choose the treasure you want to pawn to challenge 1 or more monstrous geniuses. During your challenge period, the summit meeting of the Monster Genius list will also be held as scheduled. After you advance, you can continue to challenge the next round of monstrous geniuses. In short, Lin Shen's number of victories would be synchronized with the summit meeting. No matter how many monstrous geniuses he challenged, he would advance according to the number of victories. However, you still have to hand over your Providence plant pouch for the time being. Of course, you won't use the sage artifacts needed for battle for the time being. This is the rule set by the elders. The beautiful woman rolled her eyes and smiled. To her surprise, Lin Shen straightforwardly handed over all his Providence plant pouches for the time being. Aren't you worried that we'll seize and tamper with them? The other beautiful woman in the heaven-opening realm asked in surprise. After all, Lin Shen's Providence plant pouch contained enough wealth to rival many rank 8 sects. No one could remain calm in the face of this amount. Lin Shen, however, smiled indifferently. It's fine. Even if you want to play any tricks, I can suppress you. The 2 beautiful women's pupils constricted. Suppress? Lin Shen didn't use the word defeat, but suppress them, or suppress the organizers of the Monster Genius list present. It should be an illusion, right? Under everyone's gaze, the beautiful woman in the blue dress didn't hesitate for too long and immediately said, Then, young Lin Shen, which monstrous geniuses do you want to challenge? The 2 women giggled. With your battle strength, you must be in the top 1,000. Lin Shen suddenly smiled. Top 1,000? No. Other than my specialty, one of my few strengths is that I'm not picky about food. After speaking, Lin Shen stepped forward. The various rank 8 families and sects were instantly shocked. More than half of the super geniuses on the high platform were already prepared for battle. As long as Lin Shen dared to challenge them, they would dare to accept. They were determined to obtain the rank 8 saint artifact. Countless saints couldn't help but hold their breaths in anticipation. This mysterious young man who had risen against the heavens and whose background was a mystery had once become a famous figure in the Sky Saint region and the 36 regions. After returning from 2 years of silence, how strong was his strength and cultivation? And which monstrous genius did he want to challenge? Or did he want to challenge multiple geniuses? Countless gazes landed on Lin Chun. Lin Chen's lips curled up as he laughed. I, Lin Chun, want a challenge. After speaking, Lin Chen skillfully put on his self-made sunglasses and smiled mockingly. I want to challenge all the geniuses on the Monster Genius list. As soon as he finished speaking, the four Venus were greeted with unprecedented silence. Chapter 1536. Silence. A deathly silence. Almost all the sages in the four major Venus thought they had heard wrongly. All the large business groups, rank 8 families, sects, and reclusive old monsters that rarely came out of seclusion were present. Whether it was the transformative realm, the receiving star realm, the sacred heart realm, or the heaven-opening realm, it didn't matter whose cultivation was stronger. It didn't matter whose experience was more impressive, whose knowledge was more extensive, whose experience was more outstanding. At this moment, they were all the same. They were all filled with question marks, because the amount of information was too damn huge. If you didn't hear it clearly, I'll repeat it again. Lin Chen's smile grew wider, and the corners of his mouth rose crazily. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Snap! The snap of his fingers seemed to penetrate everyone's minds, pulling them back from their state of shock and confusion. I, Lin Chun, I want to challenge all the monstrous geniuses on the monster ranking. Whether it's the bottom 9,000 or the top 100, as long as they are on the monster ranking, I will challenge all of them. Whoever is willing to accept the challenge. As long as they defeat me, they could divide my wealth. As long as I defeat all of you, I will be the true number 1 on the monster ranking, and the champion's prize will be mine. Lin Chen's laughter was overflowing with arrogance and tyranny. I've always been a persistent person, but this time, I'm in a hurry, so I hope everyone can come and meet together. After he finished speaking, the four major Venus were still dead silent. Even a beautiful woman like Yi Li Xue, who was like a strong woman, was so shocked that her red lips opened wide, causing people to have wild and fanciful thoughts. The 10 great elders sitting on the high platform originally had an aloof and unfathomable expression on their faces. At this moment, they were like young lads whose buttholes had been broken. Their faces were full of shock, and the corners of their mouths twitched. It was only when Lin Chun repeated it twice that they heard clearly who Lin Chun wanted a challenge. It was not a super monstrous genius, nor was it multiple monstrous geniuses. What he wanted to challenge was the entire monster ranking. After a full 10 breaths, crazy. He must be crazy. Who thought of such a creative way to seek death? The director of the Black Horse Club? Are you King kidding? What happened? This kid wants to challenge the entire Demon Genius list? This is the Monster Genius list. It's not the Genius rankings. Is his brain damaged? An unprecedented wave of heated discussions suddenly broke out in the four main Venus. The 100-clan merchant group, the 8th rank clans, and the sects were all boiling with excitement. All the saints felt their scalps go numb. It was as if his entire body had been electrocuted. The two beautiful twins in blue dresses were stunned. They recalled Lin Chen's words. No, I'm not picky. So that was what he meant when he said that he wanted to challenge someone on the monster ranking. The monster ranking was established after the 10th epoch after the sacred boundary was established. It had an unprecedentedly long history. This list had given birth to saint geniuses, geniuses who had influenced the history of the sacred boundary for thousands of years. It lasted for a long time and had a long history. Every monstrous genius who walked out of the rankings was a famous ancient saint in the sacred boundary, or a peerless powerhouse whose name was passed down through the ages. The monster genius list was unique, and it was also the hope of the human race. This was a well-known fact. It had always stood at the top of the sacred boundary, as if no one could suppress its brilliance other than the legends of the Saint Genius list. But today, someone had issued a challenge to the entire monster genius list. Bullsh Asterisk T. He's not here to challenge us at all. He's here to cause trouble. I'm condemning this kid and expelling him from the monster genius list. Let's just take him down and suppress him in front of all the elders. Some of the older generation's powerhouses and monstrous geniuses were even angered. That's right, it didn't sound like a challenge at all. This kid was clearly here to cause trouble. I can't pretend that I didn't hear that. A handsome young man in a blood-red robe slowly stood up. His sword-like eyes emitted a blazing and domineering light that shot straight at Lin Chun. Many of the geniuses were shocked. This was a real big shot. Second on the monster genius list, Sichuan Yijian Jin Yangji. This person was currently at the top of the monster genius list. Before the summit was held, the first place on the monster genius list was empty. It just so happens that I'm interested in his sage artifact. If I don't kill this kid, I won't feel at ease. Another monstrous genius with a strong physique and vigorous chi and blood that resembled a primordial true Ho laughed sinisterly. Eighth on the monster genius list, one of the top 10 body-tempering sages on the monster genius list, Myriad Star's sacred body, Guzhen. I have to say, this is the first time I've seen someone so arrogant. Ha ha, this is the first time I've been looked down upon like this. I'll take his head. The top 10 monstrous geniuses on the monster genius list all moved out. Rumble. The soaring, murderous aura seemed to pierce through the sky of the 4 major venues. Countless rays of sage light filled the sky, and many figures descended from the seating area. All the sages were shocked, and countless sages gasped. The top 2,000 monstrous geniuses on the monster genius list also moved out. Even the top 100 monstrous geniuses on the monster genius list stood up and stepped into the air. Even some monstrous geniuses who were ranked between 5,000 and 6,000 started to enter the venue. Lin Chun had directly angered everyone. This wasn't just a challenge. It was a humiliation. It was a complete humiliation, trampling on the pride of many monstrous geniuses on the monster genius list. Since ancient times, no one had dared to do such a thing. Even the top 1 on the monster genius list could not challenge all the monstrous geniuses alone. Lin Chen's lips curled up. It was one thing for him to anger everyone, but what really made those monstrous geniuses step into the arena was his wealth. If he had not used his wealth as a stake, how would those monstrous geniuses take the bait? They were all people who would not wake up early without benefits. Which monstrous geniuses did not want to divide his wealth? According to the rules, Lin Chun did not break the rules. At that moment, an old voice came from the vast void. All the sages were shocked. A mighty figure had spoken. However, he can't use any methods or external forces that violate the rules. Otherwise, I will personally suppress him. Several illusory figures seemed to flicker in the vast void. When they spoke again, even the 10 elders on the high platform stood up and bowed towards the void. Lin Chun narrowed his eyes. A saint above the second transition. However, he didn't care. He only had one goal for this trip, which was to get first place on the monster ranking and the prize for the champion. Therefore, the conditions he proposed earlier are still valid. Those who participate in the battle will receive the resources he has put up as collateral, and everyone will have a chance to share in the profits. When the people in the void spoke, the saints were shocked. The mighty figures actually approved of this brat's actions. Rumble. Almost as soon as the Almighty in the void finished speaking, the 4 main venues were instantly shaken. The saint power flowed, and the afterimages filled the sky. The moment they received the mighty figure's recognition, all sorts of freaks took action. 100, 1,000, 5,000, 8,000. The genius list was here. All of them had come. A total of 9,329 freaks and geniuses had all entered the arena. Only a small number of freaks and geniuses who knew Lin Chun did not choose to enter the arena to challenge Lin Chun. It was very strange. There was definitely something wrong with Lin Chun's move. Almost all the freaks and geniuses who had come into contact with Lin Chun had this intuition. Ha ha ha! How many years has it been since such a miraculous event? Come, I will personally take charge and open the battle dimension for all of you. Whoosh! A stream of light shot down from the sky. A space vortex opened and turned into a brand new space dimension, transporting Lin Shun and all the freaks and geniuses into the battle dimension. Whether you're causing trouble or not, as long as you, Lin Shun, don't break the rules, you can fight however you want. If you lose, you will have to pay for everything you have. If you win, the first place on the monster ranking will be yours. Two loud and lofty laughs came from the void. The sages in the four venues all stood up, their hearts trembling as they stared at the spatial light screen in the venue. This was an unprecedented challenge in the history of the Sacred Boundaries monster ranking. One person challenging the entire monster ranking. It was like a ferocious tiger issuing a challenge to all the lions. This was a battle that was destined to have no suspense. However, regardless of whether he won or lost, Lin Shun would definitely create a precedent. Chapter 1537. If an ordinary monster made such a request, it would definitely be rejected. However, Lin Shun was different. The organizers of the Monster Genius list had seen his chips and wealth. Just based on his net worth, it was no longer a small matter. Furthermore, he was not breaking the rules. As long as a monster on the Monster Genius list was willing to accept his conditions, theoretically, there was no limit to the number of people who could challenge him. However, what no one expected was that this would be a great battle in the name of one person challenging the entire Monster Genius list. In the battle plane, many monsters on the Monster Genius list and Lin Shun were transported to a desolate desert. It was vast and boundless, and a sandstorm filled the sky. This spatial plane was the strongest spatial barrier among the four major venues. It could withstand the attack of a heaven-opening realm cultivator. In this plane, every grain of yellow sand weighed millions of kilograms. It was extremely high quality. In the surrounding space, more than 9,000 monsters floated in the air. Lin Shun stood opposite of them. The two of them were 50,000 kilometers apart, but they seemed to be very close at the same time. For a saint, a distance of 5,000 kilometers could be seen with a single glance by activating Saint Power. Although the power of an attack from 10,000 kilometers away would be reduced, it was not a big problem. I have to say, I'll gladly accept a treasure sent to me. Does he really think that he can challenge the Monster Genius list with the strength of a heaven-opening realm cultivator? So what if he has the strength of a middle stage or late stage heaven-opening realm cultivator? Not to mention that the top 100 big shots are all here. Even a late stage heaven-opening realm cultivator would lose half his life if the top 2,000 monsters each attacked. It wouldn't be strange if he died on the spot. As long as he can get a grade 7 divine pill, it's a huge profit. At the very least, there are so many natural treasures and spiritual plants of providence. Ha ha ha. Many monstrous geniuses stared at Lin Shun in the distance with mocking expressions. At that moment, the voice of the organizer came from the void again. I will personally oversee this battle. Due to the large number of people, I will teleport those who are injured away based on my own judgment. Those who are teleported away will be considered to have failed. If Lin Shun fails, then life and death will be up to fate. If I can save you, I will. If I can't, then it's your own choice. Lin Shun snapped his fingers and smiled. No problem. The mighty figure's voice transmission reassured the monstrous geniuses. It was a sure win. This time, he could casually hammer Lin Shun. Now let the summit begin. Just as the mighty figure finished speaking, suddenly, Lin Shun smiled but didn't say anything. He slowly extended a finger. A monstrous genius with a head full of green hair laughed mockingly at the front. With this one finger, are you trying to say that you can take care of us in one move? Lin Shun clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Holy shit, a bosom friend! How did you know?" Upon hearing that Lin Shun intended to use a single move to kill the monsters, the mighty figures in the four venues could not help but sneer. A gray-robed elder sneered. What arrogance! Boom! In the great desert plain, sand and pebbles were flying everywhere. Holy aura shone for eternity, radiating from all directions, from the sky to the ground, and from the ground to the ground. It was filled with boundless killing intent. Arrogant, die. Sword shadows filled the sky like a tidal wave slashing down. Saber lights were like wind, thunder, light, darkness, and many other elemental holy power forms. It was like a surging tide, simply covering the entire world. The first to attack were the monstrous geniuses ranked between 6,000 and 9,000. Just this attack alone caused many of the almighties of the 8th rank aristocratic families to have a serious look on their faces. Although these monstrous geniuses were still very young, their powerful aptitudes and foundations had already begun to show their brilliance. Even someone as strong as a heaven-opening realm cultivator might not be able to escape unscathed in the face of this attack. 1 or 10 young monstrous geniuses were nothing. But once there were hundreds or even thousands of them, the quantitative change would trigger an unprecedented qualitative change. The attack they triggered was definitely not as simple as it appeared on the surface. The monstrous geniuses ranking was ultimately the monstrous geniuses ranking, not ordinary saints. Just this attack alone was enough for the rank 8 mighty figures to unanimously agree that Lin Shun had to take it seriously to be able to withstand it. The powerful monstrous geniuses were still watching closely watching Lin Shun. Once he withstood the first wave of attacks or revealed a flaw, the monstrous geniuses would immediately attack. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Shun slightly circulated his pure strength, raised his qi, and inhaled. Then, Lin Shun's qi flowed far and wide. When he inhaled, almost the entire space began to distort and collapse. Light shattered, and space crumbled like paste. The holy power gathered in the energy center and condensed into Lin Shun's chest. The next moment, Lin Shun suddenly opened his mouth and exhaled. Huff! Boom! 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 A hurricane swept across the entire desert plain. It was a super hurricane that could destroy heaven and earth as if it could sweep across thousands of realms. It stirred up heaven and earth, blew up yellow sand, and rolled across billions of feet of void space. Rumble! The strong wind swept across like swords, destroying the universe and plunging it into unprecedented chaos. It directly pierced through all the attacks. Bang! 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 In an instant, a series of explosions erupted in the void. The terrifying holy power was directly crushed by the hurricane that could sweep across the sun, moon, and stars. The remaining force of the strong wind pierced through the defenses of thousands of monstrous geniuses like sharp swords that pierced through the void. Their holy bodies were torn apart, and their holy blood spurted out. They were severely injured before they could even react. Yellow sand filled the sky, and smoke billowed. The storm was like the roar of a dragon, and the dust storm was like the roar of thunder. Light was distorting, and space was collapsing. Oh no! A cry of surprise rang out in the void. Immediately, blue holy light shot out and covered the sky like eggshells, protecting the lives of countless monstrous geniuses. All the monstrous geniuses retreated rapidly, their expressions filled with unprecedented shock. At that moment, all the sages in the 4 major venues were horrified. A chill ran from the soles of everyone's feet to the top of their heads. On the high platform, the 10 organizing elders stood up and stared at Lin Shun. One breath. He had only used one breath. The attacks of more than 4,000 monstrous geniuses had been extinguished by one breath of energy center. The most frightening thing was that he had not even used his holy power. He had crushed more than 4,000 monstrous geniuses with just the strength of his body tempering technique. What kind of F***king realm and level was that? In the VIP seats, the gray-robed elder who had looked down on Lin Shun earlier was now dumbfounded. He was so scared that he was trembling. The old man muttered to himself in horror. How arrogant! More than 4,000 monstrous geniuses were all severely injured. Like feathers falling from the sky, they scattered and were eventually teleported away, leaving behind a small number of attribute light balls. The remaining 5,000 monstrous geniuses finally realized how terrifying Lin Chun was. However, their reaction speed was far inferior to Lin Chen's. Lin Chen's footsteps were swift. He crossed thousands of miles and landed on the ground. He bent slightly and stabbed his 5 fingers into the yellow sand ground. Seeing his posture, some of the body-tempering sage's pupils constricted. No way. Oh no, he's going to splash the sand. With Lin Chen's earth-shattering strength, coupled with the great desert sand that was as heavy as a grain of 500 kilograms, when he threw the sand at them, one of the monstrous geniuses subconsciously muttered to himself, "Flip the skin." Chapter 1538. Lin Chen bent down and sank his fingers into the yellow sand. The corners of his mouth curled upward. Let's use the yellow sand sky to send all the monsters away. Lin Chen's saint acupoint glowed with an eternal light as he circulated some saint power in his right palm. Following that, saint energy that could overturn the sun, moon, and stars exploded from Lin Chen's palm as he waved his 5 fingers toward the sky. His palm lifted the endless yellow sand as if billions of true dragons were born, destroying the world and the sky. The entire plane seemed to be spinning for a moment. Chi! Boom! The yellow sand was like starlight shooting out crazily, like streaks of starlight flashing across the horizon. Oh no! Retreat! Defend! Thousands of monsters and prodigies were horrified. There was no time for them to retreat. The attack came too quickly and instantly drowned them in endless starlight, piercing through all their defenses and defensive sacred artifacts. Bang! 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 The yellow sand turned into starlight, and a large number of monsters and prodigies were gathered in the void. They were like birds shot by arrows as blood splattered everywhere. Hiss! The saint power that erupted from this palm is not the early-stage heaven-opening realm strength of a few hundred supremacies. It's more than 2,000 supremacies. The strength of 1 supremacies is equivalent to 1 trillion dragon power. This is equivalent to 2 trillion dragon power. Didn't they say that this kid's cultivation is only at the early-stage heaven-opening realm after using his killer move? This palm is even more powerful than the mid-stage heaven-opening realm. These little bastards on the monster genius roll are going to suffer. The eyes of the various rank, 8 mighty figures trembled. Lin Chen's attack alone was enough to rank him in the top 500 of the monster genius roll. However, it was not over yet. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. In the desert plain, a huge crack appeared in the desert. Rip! Lin Chen's figure drew a 1,000-mile-long saber-like afterimage as he flashed to the other side and clenched his fist. You're always looking down on this world from above. It's time for you to come down and see the scenery of this world. Lin Chen let out a cold laugh. His fist was like a furious dragon overturning the river. He fiercely shook the sky and punched out violently. 9-colored holy light flowed between his fingers. In this punch, Lin Chen had used 2/3 of his holy energy. TSK. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying fist wind crushed everything like a chaotic storm, causing heaven and earth to be turned upside down. It was several times more terrifying than the palm strike just now. The fist wind with 9-colored holy light swirling around it pierced through the entire great desert plain. His fist swept through the mountains and rivers, piercing through the Milky Way and creating a huge hole in the grand desert plain. This young master's 6th grade yin-yang armor. No, he can't be so strong. He must have cheated. Father, save me. Bang, bang, bang. The sounds of explosions and miserable shrieks rang out incessantly in the void. Some of the freaks were beaten to the point of crying for their parents, some fainted on the spot, and some fell to the ground with heavy injuries. No matter what kind of trump cards the monsters had, what kind of ultimate techniques, killer moves, or defensive trump cards, they were all in this one move. Clean them all up. Boom. In the 4 major venues, all the sages suddenly stood up, their eyes trembling with fear. One had to know that for every 1,000 ranks on the Monster Genius list, there was a huge gap between them. From the top 1,000 and one to the top 2,000 on the Monster Genius list, every one of them had combat strength that was comparable to a Sacred Heart. However, at this moment, all the monsters below the top 1,000 were sent flying by this one punch. Their defenses were shattered, and their attacks were destroyed. One punch. He only used one punch. The sages stared blankly at the great desert plain. What kind of scene was that? It was indescribable and unforgettable. Yellow sand wreaked havoc, and holy light illuminated the sky. The young man's silver robe danced in the wind as he strolled in the desert. He was bathed in the 9-colored holy light. Everywhere he passed, figures fell from the sky like snowflakes, falling like dust and sand into the desert. Every figure that fell at his feet was a peerless genius in the sacred boundary. Every figure that was sent flying was a legend that rose among hundreds of millions of geniuses. They were monstrous geniuses that were revered by countless sages. At this moment, these legends that were revered by countless sages were falling like snowflakes, fluttering and falling at the feet of a single person. He blew out 4,000 monsters in one breath. He overturned 3,000 monsters with one palm. He wiped out more than 1,000 monsters with one punch. He wiped out more than half of the Monster Genius list in 3 moves. Who would have thought of this scene? Who would have thought of this moment? No one dared to think of it. Something that others did not even dare to think of had appeared again and again in Lin Shen's hands. He had single-handedly swept through the Monster Genius list. A Saint Genius. A Saint Genius has appeared. Lin Shen, a deity from the Monster Genius list, will definitely enter the Saint Genius list. The history of the Sacred Boundaries Monster Genius list will be rewritten once again. This moment will be engraved in the Sacred Boundary for thousands of eras. History will give birth to an unprecedented Saint Genius at this moment in this era. It's too terrifying. I never thought that a person who likes to stir up trouble would be so heaven-defying after staying quiet for 2 years. An unprecedented frenzy of heated discussions erupted. This battle stunned all the rank, 8 sects in the Sacred Boundary. 2 years. It's only been 2 years. What realm has he grown to? Judging from that punch just now, his control of the Saint Force was very precise. He only injured all the monsters and did not completely kill them. If he wanted to kill, at least half of those monsters would have died. Lin Shen alone is enough to wash the Monster Genius list with blood. Where will history lead? He challenged the Monster Genius list single-handedly. Such a feat is enough to leave his name in the history of the Saint Genius list. Now is the highlight. There are less than 1,000 monsters left, and they are all super monsters who have stepped into the Saint Heart realm. This is an unprecedented battle, and it will definitely be the battle that will make Lin Shen a god. Whether he wins or loses, Lin Shen's reputation in the Sacred Boundary will be pushed to the peak, comparable to a Saint Genius. Everyone could see that Lin Shen indeed had the strength to challenge the entire Monster Genius list single-handedly. That punch just now had made even the rank 8 Almighties feel a sense of fear that made their souls tremble. The lethality of the Saint Force had surpassed the strength of 10,000 Venerables. 1 trillion Dragon Force was equivalent to the strength of 1 Venerables. 10,000 Venerables was equivalent to 10 trillion Dragon Force. The power of one punch was enough to shatter the sky. In the Desert Bitwall, Lin Shen walked slowly to the extreme south of the Desert Bitwall. In the void, he hovered in the air, facing the last group of super monsters alone. They had withstood Lin Shen's attacks one after another. They were the strongest group of monsters. Even if they were injured, they could recover quickly because they had all stepped into the Saint Heart realm. The recovery ability of the Saint Heart realm was not to be underestimated, especially when Lin Shun did not use Extermination Split Wound. The Saint Heart realm was very resilient. Everyone, why don't you give me the first place on the Monster Genius list? Since I'm so handsome, how about it? Lin Shun laughed mockingly. He casually grabbed Juyin. To deal with these super monsters, even with Lin Shin's current cultivation, he had to show his true strength. This was because none of the opponents were weak, especially those in the top 100 of the Monster Genius list. Don't think that you can overturn the Monster Genius list just because you've killed some random people. You're not worthy. The four monsters sneered and pulled out the Saint Swords on their backs. The terrifying aura was about to tear the sky apart. An earth-shattering battle was about to break out. In the VIP seats, the Yi family was so shocked that they were breaking out in cold sweat. Yi Lishua's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. She stared deeply at Lin Chen's figure. Looking at the young man's domineering and confident smile, her heart could not calm down for a long time. Qingwu, oh Qingwu, your eyes are even sharper than mine. That you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.